just don't know, we don't reply. 'Cause I feel the love.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Culture Shock. I'm Raz and I'm here in Chengdu, also known as Tianfu, a city of paradise. A city where OMG is now opening their home venue here, and they're hoping to call this a paradise of their own. Now I'm here in Taipoli, a popular fashion district where you get a good sense of its ancient history, their temples, and of course their modern lifestyle. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is Chongqing on a map. Of course, this is Snake's home venue. We have Chengdu over here. Both of them are in the Sichuan region. Of course, both cities are competing cities in a lot of cases, sports-wise, and ancient history as well. So it's very natural to see both Snake and OMG kind of competing against each other. I'm in People's Park, which is smack down in the center of downtown Chengdu. It's really beautiful, much like I would say Central Park in New York. Alright, so I've been told by a friend that it's actually a comfortable tradition here to come into the park, drink tea and snack, and also have someone clean out your ear. I don't think that's comfortable, but I'm about to find out. I wouldn't call this comfortable, but it's not, okay, yeah, it's definitely not comfortable.
Tools.
Yep, he definitely has tools. Oh my god. I actually hear so much more clearly now. Now, I remember getting this kind of procedure done at just like a random clinic in Canada. Never would I imagine to come to a tea shop in Chengdu and just have this be a service. So, I mean, is it comfortable? No, but it's definitely an experience you have to go through at least once. I visited the Quanzai Shanzi, the broad and narrow alley, which is rich in history from the Qing dynasty of ancient times. That has been now reconstructed to be our tourist hotspot of the city. There were tons of traditional Sichuan snacks with craftsmen who made candy out of fanatical figures. But I've heard of the famous face-changing act at the Sichuan Opera. The opening acts were all a treat and expressed different flavors of the city. The acts got me to experience the growing heritage and pride of the Three Kingdoms, the insane skills of a well-experienced tea master, to even a fun Chengdu comedy that hit me regardless of the language barriers. The face changing symbolizes the change of character and emotion and encapsulated me throughout the act. No matter how many times I look back at it, I still don't understand how it's done. After the show, I got a chance to learn a little bit from the team master himself, but I knew I was only going to get a small taste. Later on, I had some Xuan with friends, and got to check out the sights and sounds of the city. The term work hard and play harder fits this place well. All right, well, we're here finally at the Dongjiaojie Musical Center, where OMG will be having their grand opening. We're going to be taking a tour around the venue, and then afterwards checking out the actual events and the opening ceremony itself. Let's go and take a look. 水战到底, which is fight to the last blood. Hopefully, they can take the victory today. Now right behind me is the IMAX Theater, right beside the OMG venue. And while we were walking by, we just came through a lot of incredible restaurants. So there's so much you can do here in the square before and after the games. With the grand opening, OMG prepared riddles and sweet dumplings for the fans to celebrate the Lantern Festival. It's an event here, of course, it's the Lantern Festival. And one of the questions here, the riddle I have, is how many chromas does Dragon Fist Lee Sin actually have? Now, I play Lee Sin, Dragon Fist Lee Sin, and I have the black and yellow one. I'm going to go ahead and guess 3. Hi. Dragon Fist chromas. I'm guessing 3. 3.
Yes, you're right. 对的，谢谢。
Perfect. 谢谢。
元宵节快乐。
在线。谢谢。是 OMG Cup。你好。
你好，Hello。
啊，谢谢。
不用谢。
Take a look at this. Mmm. 很好。
同样的话，我们在得到了这个振奋人心的消息之后，伴随着这一声加油声，星球之光闪耀成都，2018英雄联盟职业联赛成都站揭幕战现在开始。
Seeing OMG's 2014 World Semifinalist roster on stage side by side with the new generation singing Light of the Planet was something else. The song symbolizes holding on to your dreams even in your darkest hours, and that the planet will keep on turning. Especially important now in these up and down times, you could tell that the fans were touched by this, and it properly opened up a new chapter for the team in Chengdu. After the games, I had a few questions for the legacy player of OMG on his thoughts for the future.
我觉得对于新的选手来说，遇到最大的困难可能就是比较紧张，或者目标不是很明确，坚持特别重要。还有一个就是对自己要有信心，还有一个对胜利的渴望。我觉得自己还是对比赛挺感兴趣的，不排除以后会复出或者自己弄一支战队吧。我是这样想的，就是我自己如果能打，我是肯定想自己上去做一名选手。如果实在是不能，就是如果身体啊、年纪各方面达不到职业选手的一个标准，会去组一支战队吧。还是比较喜欢电竞的，对。
After spending 2 days soaking up the life of the city and seeing how fun and passionate the fans were, I could tell why the city would be a prime location for the spring finals. With how much there is to do in Chengdu, this is the first real esports experience, and I know it'll be a big one. Man, I'm gonna miss this place, and I hope to God I get a chance to come back. It was my paradise, and I know OMG will treat it as their own. Thanks for following my journey through the city of Chengdu. This is episode 4 of Culture Shock, and I'll see you all next time.
这梗其实是艾罗丽的，跟我没关系。对，这是艾罗丽的梗，你知道这个？
我不知道。
你不知道？
我嘴好冰死。
你不知道？你什么时候问一下艾罗丽？
我太冰了，我的腿，反正我扛住我，我就让你们帮我一把。我就觉得再你他妈的艾罗丽真的 gay， 我操！我的一锤一这一鸣惊魂。
大家好，我是战马王牌解说员 Scott。
大家好，我是战马王牌解说员 Michael。今天我们为大家带来 EDG 与 OMG 的第一场比赛。
好，现在比赛开始。
这时候有点尴尬，切到我的画面，也有点帅。这些灯牌都有点奇怪啊 ！EDG 等那个人。
你就别说了。
还有明凯的粉丝，哎，全是我们 EDG 的粉丝，然后中间有一个艾罗丽的灯牌。
应该也是 EDG 的粉丝吧？
哎，这时候比赛开始，艾罗丽中路尝试一波干卡，不过5级的猪妹应该杀不死，
沙皇被抬到，
不过没有杀死，
没抬到，
塔下扛了2下塔，艾罗丽被隔开，
猪妹是没闪的，艾罗丽想杀我，直接没了。
艾罗丽对你的怨恨有点深。不过那一波就是岩雀交了闪现之后，就导致现在这一波可能就会很危险的。
一去过直接5个人，开了秒表，但是死了。
开了一个死亡秒表，不过这波没办法，人有点多。
这波是岩雀隔开，想推中要塔。
又是看到艾罗丽想要忍不住想开塔。
哇，艾波这个位置有点危险啊。哇，
直接死了，直接被秒了，所以这波船不好打的。
一开始都说了下路要 C， 不过这艾波有点搞。又是一波隔开，拆塔，确实打到了金华慢了，闪现逼出来了，快掉了。
奥恩这个大招打了3个，
这个炮车兵一直在输出，
炮车兵转移了目标，然后这时候
艾罗丽到我了，然后我闪出来，
艾罗丽死了，
艾罗丽又死了，想杀我，活该。
就杀完艾罗丽我们就先跑，这又是一波，感觉每一个画面都是就是塔利亚隔开，然后我们拆塔或者办事什么的。
想拆中高定，猪妹被打到了，
哎，艾罗丽
好像又来了，
又没了。
又凉了，
感觉每一个画面都是看艾罗丽在死啊！
杀完失误了，这波 EQ 没出
，W EQ 没有过去，然后直接死了，可能中路直接兵线进去就一波了。
是的，双 C 没了，可能要被一波了。
这时候其实好像又把艾罗丽杀了，
是的，
这波大家当时的沟通都是要把艾罗丽杀了的，就看到艾罗丽就忍不住想要杀他，
要杀他。
他前面挺烦的，可能就是以前我们在一起天天欺负他，然后他现在到赛场上面就开始搞我们了。
是的，想报仇嘛。
单起来干可了下路，然后又去中路了一波，因为在成都主场就给他一点面子，少杀他几次，然后发现这时候杀了5次了已经。然后这时候塞恩死了之后也苦苦挣扎，不过没办法，还是被我们拆了。Scout 的王牌解说员的话，我觉得他应该100分满分的话，应该能得60分。对，
梅口的话要比我低一点吧，给他50分吧。
你为什么要给他50分？
这我不知道。
就是看我给60，他要给的比他低。这次王牌解说员，我给Scout的解说打分的话，满分100分的话，可以给他70分吧。对。
不过梅口的话，可能要比我低一点吧，所以给他60分吧。
你给他70分。
我应该给他90分的。
恭喜 EDG 战队获得了本场比赛胜利，
感谢战马队王牌解说员的大力支持，
也不要忘记关注也不要忘记关注节目公众号。
我们下期节目不见不散，
拜拜。
一进，你给我当波狗。
可以啊。
我来了，我来了，我来了。
可以打，
我不在，我不在，
可以打，可以打，
我不在，我不在。
哎，走走走走，
我要交闪，我要交闪，能赢，能赢，能赢。
球赢！
哎，等，
小娜。
OK，
我可以看到，我可以看到。
慢一点，开到。
我再搞。
到。
太大。我再搞，我来了，能汉东局吗？
来，我打。
哇！
他灭了。慢点。
你别去。全杀！没事。
好了，小心。
这头人给我，
没事。
可以。啊，能吃吗？
啊，吃不了。等，别急。
你们慢慢杀。小人被 Q 死。
别急，给我。可以。
nice 啊。有点嗨啊，兄弟。去个人收了小龙吧，那儿去吧。
我不可以。
你不可以？
我吃红豆可以。
OK。
你吃吧。
让你吃吧，给你吧。3个红，这个人
说了半天不就想要红嘛？
来，
你要我还能不给你吗？对不对？下一个，
谢谢。
一进，你给我当波狗。哎呀。
能不能继续对我笑，对我哭，对我笑，为你笑，为你疯，陪你闹，你好不好？我好想知道
你到底想干嘛？
他们就是想拼团，他们就是
我们团比对面强太多了。
强啊，肯定比对面强。
但是大家不要急，把前面队先打好，把前面队先打好啊！尤其是下路，稳稳的打。
OK。
好，重点是基因克斯的发育，加油！
那就看我，加油，金大明，
加油！
加油！看一下就注意看一下，来，双龙 miss。哎，三辅助按我，三辅助，距离不够，你压这里。
能杀吗？
我距离不够。来，先回来，先走。我 Q 这个，来，杀了。哎，撞上。nice，跑起来。我刚。AD 没事。来，推下吧。看一下我可以吗？
看一下，扶着没事。
来，杀了，
扶着没事。
我帮你打，我只要进了，我不会死。
扶着没事。我打。
可以打大龙吗？可以打大龙吗？出来。AD 没闪。
打正面。
我 E 到。
可以打大龙吗？
看这里。闪现 A 了。来打大龙。AD 没闪。AD 没闪。一波吗？一波有点难，试一下。
慢慢点。
我可以上去卖的。
可以上，你上去卖吧。
你上。
你这闪现进去。
AD 杀 AD 吗？
就在这个炉石机。
好，出来。
慢慢
出来。
上面。还可以打吧，可以。
可以来手，雷动。没有喷的。哎，有。
你喷他啊！你看到我就是喷他呀！没关系，GG。等我们小狗不在，没事，他们不太好开的。
他们干，
杀后边的。我军团队，他们杀不了我，不用管。
没事可以打。
卡丁看一下。
1秒变。
看 ID。
1秒对，小狗1秒对。对。
还有这个。
5杀，3秒加速，2秒加速。交给。
别赢了重要。
他这吸血鬼不，我可以闪现变羊的
啊。还有5杀吗？
还有吧，应该。
那我觉得你们可以上。
闪现变羊。没有变羊了。别给他5杀了吧？
给他5杀吧。
送我了。
哎，兄弟，我差点帮你抢。有义气啊，这个人这么开心。
可以啊，兄弟。
呀！
你好，我是叶子妍。
哦。就很高兴能够接受这次采访。然后你好，我是柚子安。
This has been a very long time coming, and I want to first say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me, Uzi. I'm Indiana FLICKR in black, and I think we need to start almost at the very beginning, at 2013, when the world I think, first realized that you were going to be a big deal, when you were going to be a superstar, and that was when you faced off across from FLICKR. This was, the Staples Center, thousands of eyes all on you, the grand finals, you're looking across from the unkillable Demon King himself, and you're only 15 doing this. So can you kind of walk me through that moment of someone who was so young to be thrust in that type of spotlight and what that pressure feels like?
其实在当时我刚刚进入到世界赛的时候，其实当时我自己都不是特别了解，就是已经受到这么多人去关注我的一个情况吧。因为我当时其实就是更多的就是享受自己在玩游戏的过程嘛，就是其实我可能没有当做那是一场非常需要去获胜的比赛，而是更享受那个时候的过程和所有人都在看我玩游戏嘛。所以说，就当时其实还没有意识到，就是 FLICKR 是多么强的一个对手，然后这场比赛是这么多人在关注着我们吧。对。
At the very beginning of your career, a lot of your teammates talked about how you were anxious, you were more shy, you were so young when you started your professional career. So can you kind of walk me back through what was Uzi like in 2013?
在我刚刚开始去打劫的时候，因为我当时年龄真的是特别的小，然后脾气也不是特别的好，特别是在玩游戏的时候嘛，就是如果是玩的特别的烂的话，就会生气嘛，就是对队友生气或者对自己生气嘛。然后当时就是很想要在游戏上取得很大的优势嘛，所以说就会让很多的队友去帮助我，然后让我去 carry 比赛嘛，就更多的就是让自己玩得很舒服，然后就是基本上就是想要一个人去赢得游戏的那样吧。
You have the nickname Kong Xiaoguo, the mad dog, obviously based around that persona of your temper. Do you still associate yourself with that nickname, or do you just carry it as like a badge of honor?
처음에는 오히려 게임이 안 될 때도 있는 걸 생각했어요. 그래서 저희는 말이 안 통하는 걸 되게 다행으로 생각하고 있는 게 우지 선수하고 인셋 선수 둘 다 성격이 약간 좀 불같거든요. 그게 말이 통했었으면 아마 저희는 몇 번 싸웠을 것 같아요. 근데 말이 안 통하니까 안 싸우는 거예요.
其实就是这个称呼在就是很久之前就是别人给我取的嘛，也确实是因为我玩游戏上就是特别的暴躁，然后也非常的喜欢去就是说别人的失误嘛。然后现在的话其实都还好，但是我觉得就是这个称号也有一部分我觉得是可能玩游戏上也是特别的激进嘛，就是很容易去压制别人，我觉得也有一部分关系吧。就我还是比较喜欢，也比较喜欢这个称号吧。我觉得就是算是以前的一说出来大家都知道是我的一个称号。
Tabe always, not just Tabe, all of your supports speak really highly about your intelligence in game, and accredit you this genius about how you micromanage their decisions in game, telling them when to go for an engagement, what CS that you're going to move on, how to rotate around you. But Tabe then also said that he felt that back then that you would need someone to lead you. Do you agree with that statement now?
我觉得在某些方面我真的是需要被去领导，因为我更注重的是我的操作嘛，然后可能在很多细小的方面都没法注意到。就比如说我在对线的时候，人家就是有人走到我的面前，就是打野走到我们眼上，在那里蹲着我的时候，可能我都没有看到。所以说我觉得很多就是很细小的方面真的需要别人去告诉我嘛。然后这也是我一直就是以来的一个问题吧，就是更注重自己的操作，而很多的东西都没有注意到。对。
What are your responsibilities to your team? Are you there just to win lane, just to be Uzi and be that that mad dog, that terrifying force in the bot lane, or are you starting to shift roles at all?
我觉得我在团队方面，就是如果更多的去鼓励我的队友和帮助我的队友去建立自信心的话，我觉得就是这是一个我需要更多的去做的一个地方嘛。因为我有的时候在玩游戏的时候，就更注重于自己的各方面的情绪和就是游戏上的操作，就很少去关注到队友的一些情绪方面的问题。我觉得我需要做的就是更多的去帮助队友去建立他们的自信心。
I'm glad that you bring up emotion, because I think your fans recognize you as a very emotionally driven player. So when we see such strong emotions from you, either your roar of victory when you take down Samsung, or some of your distraught after those hard-fought losses, do you use this emotion as a drive to win, or do you constantly battle this emotion?
我觉得更多的方面，其实两方面都有吧。但是我觉得更多的可能是我需要去控制我的情绪，不然可能会影响到我。因为在更多的时候，就是在每天的训练中，可能累积的情绪就是让我可能会更大的压力嘛，然后导致你在比赛中的发挥和就是对游戏的看法可能会造成不一样的那种看法嘛，就会导致你在比赛中很多的失误，然后控制不住自己，可能说别人一直来抓你啊，然后你就一直死啊，就会这样子就
Okay. I have to ask. So, I mean, you talk about the emotion, the frustration. You know, when you're looking across at that championship, your most recent finals appearance, you guys went 2-0 up, and then there was that devastating reverse sweep that EDG had on you.
EDG have denied Uzi once again. EDG, they're onto the Nexus. Mako pushing them back, shoving Uzi away. But here's Tenacious. He's trying, but he can't do it. EDG, the most dominant team.
The final game, I believe that you played Ashe. You know, in those types of situations, are you just saying, I'll do this for the team, that if they want me to play this, that I'll do it? Or where is the voice where I'm going to play the Vayne, I'm going to be the carry, I'm going to lead the charge?
其实在对阵 EDG 那次比赛以后，就是打到最后一盘，其实我整个人都是懵掉的，因为当时就是在前面几局的表现也没有特别的好，然后失误也很多嘛，就是一直脑海里就在回想自己的失误，就是直到打到最后一局，整个人都是没有就是集中到比赛中之去的，就是很多的失误嘛。当时那个比赛打下来，就是自己真的打到最后一局就是快要崩溃了一样的，就已经有点调整不过来了嘛，就导致自己就是在各方面就是集中力都下降了很多。
When you look towards your playoff run, which congratulations for qualifying for playoffs, is the emotion just the greatest thing that you have to overcome? I believe Tabe said it, that if any LPL player was going to lift the trophy for the World Championship, that it was going to be you. Do you believe that? Do you believe that you will be the LPL eventual world representative to lift the crown?
我觉得在接下来的季后赛，我需要更注意自己的情绪吧，因为其实就是在我还没有回来之前，因为我们战队的成绩并不是特别好，然后大家的状态也没有得到很好的提升嘛，所以说就是在很多方面我就表现得非常的着急，然后这也影响到了我们就是队伍的整体实力嘛。然后我觉得就是如果真的 LPL 能够举起奖杯的那一刻，我很希望是我也觉得应该有我的。对。
You're in a really unique situation where your legacy has almost been defined by millions of voices and not necessarily, you know, a ring or medals or anything like that. But people will never dispute that you are one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest ADC of all time. But if you don't ever lift the trophy, do you think that this was all worth it? Do you measure your success in that trophy or that goal, or do you recognize that you already have established your legacy?
我觉得就算在我退役的那一天没有拿到一个真的很好的奖杯，但是我觉得也不会很失望吧，因为我觉得这一段过程已经给了我很大的帮助。因为在我刚开始打职业和我现在在打职业的感觉完全是不一样的。就我觉得在打职业这段过程中给我带来了很多东西，也让我去学到了很多东西吧。而且我觉得在我退役的那一天，我觉得我是一定可以拿到奖杯的。
Well, that was the last question I had. Thank you so much, Uzi, for taking the time to sit with me.
谢谢 Uzi。
一发大招直接。
The LPL Spring Split is finally over. Today marks the first day of the LPL playoffs. Before we get into those matches and before we get into the first match of round one, we do have a couple of awards to give out, such as the MVP of the split. Hello and welcome to tonight's broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthew Stewart, your host. Joining me is going to be Raz as well as Rusty. What are you guys' thoughts on the Spring Split before we move finally into playoffs?
Yeah, it was sick. There were so many games. We had a ridiculous amount of games, over 310 games seen, more than NA and EU put together.
Yep.
And now we get to see the culmination of all of that.
Yeah, and honestly, they are prepared for this gauntlet because it felt like the split itself was a gauntlet to go through. So yeah, you know, you're conditioned, you're ready. It's time to perform.
Yeah, and a lot of teams just narrowly made it into playoffs as well. We see Team WE scraping a victory there to get in there. FPX were close behind them. And there were those teams making their late game runs towards playoffs. And teams such as FPX as well as Sinning, unfortunately missing out. And it seemed like this year, this split of the LPL was very close in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, honestly, at the very beginning of the LPL, 9-5 said it best when he was in an interview and just said that it felt like every team just got better. After Worlds, you go back into the LPL, the middle of the pack was not really the middle of the pack just because they got better to the point where fourth place team was just up for grabs. Suning Gaming are the notable team that just are not present, and it felt like they just had stars among the ranks.
And it's all about the top-down performances. You know, if you go to the Worlds and two of our teams went to the semifinals, where you bring back that skill back to your region, then everyone has to come up to match them.
Well, that was the spring split of 2018 of the LPL. Let's get first into a couple of awards, such as the MVP of the split, which we are now going to decide between a few members in the LPL. First up was Amazing Jay. He was the first nominee as the MVP.
Yeah, Amazing Jay, I mean, it came down to flexibility for him just because the beginning of the split started with his massive Camille play. He became the carry player, and they just played towards top lane. But when the moment they started to bring in the new players in the mid lane and jungle, Chieftain and Mole, they suddenly just became a bottom lane team, and he adapted quickly.
And it lets Amazing Jay do his thing. And it doesn't have to be that he has to carry anymore. He can play Ornn and he can do well in team fights. He can play the Camille and he can carry. You saw some gangplank coming from him as well. But he's also a shot caller and a communicator for the team. He always has been. And now having two big carries in the mid lane and jungle helps him a lot.
And with Ning from Invictus Gaming being the second nominee for MVP of Spring Split.
Yeah, Ning was a big one because when I had my jungle tier list, he came at second place at the 7th week just because I felt like Flawless was the jungler to beat. But then he beat Flawless when they had their set. He was in his jungle, demolishing, as you can see him right there. So Ning really showcased consistency and that he can carry his team.
Yeah, actually grew a lot more as a jungler, specifically with the fact that he's more confident going into the enemy jungle, relying on his lanes to win, instead of just ganking for Rookie, you know, going the top lane and helping the Shy. They all come to him now, and he shows that in the jungle role, he really is a powerhouse to be feared.
Yeah, and I mean, he just fit into the meta every single time it shifted. So the moment Olaf became a thing, teams just didn't ban Olaf, and he played it time and time again.
He was very crucial for Invictus Gaming's dominant split during Spring Split 2018, but Rookie was also a crucial factor. He's the third nominee for MVP.
He's the experienced member in a team of Rookie, but he also is having a fantastic split himself. Mechanically, still been exceptional. Decision-making, working with his new players. You can really see them coming together as a team, but a lot of this, whilst his lanes are good, does still come back to his experience and prowess in his role.
Yeah, and it just showcases, of course, you already mentioned the experience, but recognizing that he doesn't have to be the major carry anymore.
Exactly.
He has Jackie Love in the bottom lane, the Shy having the split of the year, and so he can just go towards the mid lane and play those supportive picks.
It's almost as if Rookie has not had to work overtime. That he's on a roster that has so much talent. With the likes of Jackie Love, with the likes of Nick, he picked up 11 MVP performances this split. Scout also the number 4 nominee for MVP.
And he is one of the biggest hit or miss champ players that you will see on Summoner's Rift. His Talia is the best in the league potentially, but there's some other times, Lucian, where he may not be the best player, but for what it's worth, he is deserving of all of the MVPs he received because he carried in those games.
Yeah, he picked up 13 MVP performances for EDG this split.
Yeah, first place, and that's what's big about him is just that in a team, EDG, first place team that just didn't retain a lot of their consistent talent. Of course, iBoy is returning, but not having Clear Love, having, of course, the jungler of Haro, having a lot of holes in his play, of course, top lane Ray, holes in his play, he became that mid laner that you could rely on.
And the final nominee for MVP of this split is going to be Snake's jungler, SOFM.
SOFM, I mean, amazing jungler for himself. In a surprising split for Snake to be able to contest for first place, it showcases his play time and time again.
Where was he in your list?
Oh, I mean, it was third place.
Okay, so he's still the top 3, just checking.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely still a good jungler. To be feared, especially in the last week of play, Snake kind of dropped off a cliff for a second there, and you were getting a little bit worried for them. Usually Snake are renowned for falling off as the playoffs roll around, but he showed up massive. He showed that he can carry and they can play around him.
And Snake are one of the few teams that actually play around their jungler in the same style that Koreans play around their junglers in the LCK. So now we have Candice on stage waiting to announce who the winner of the MVP is going to be for this split. Gentlemen, do you have any final thoughts before they announce the winner?
Oh, I mean, it better be good. To me, there are two players that come to mind. It's either Rookie or CA, both mid laners, of course, so there's bias in that regard.
Only one of them's on the list.
Ah, that's true. That's true. Oh, no.
Well, we're going to find out now who the MVP for Spring Split 2018 at LPL is going to be.
兄联盟职业联赛春季常规赛 MVP 的是 IG Rookie。
There you go. Rookie, MVP of 2018 Spring Split of the LPL.
And it's been eluding him for some time. Last year, it just felt like because the team wasn't there, Invictus Gaming wasn't performing too well, it felt like he was missing the MVP performances of finals because he wasn't showcasing, missing the MVP of the split because it was Doinby, he was able to get it for himself. So this time, finally, Invictus Gaming is performing, and it's Rookie that picks it up.
Yeah, Rookie is a very deserving MVP, and we mentioned this time and again, his team performing well around him, but it doesn't matter if he can still play as well as he has to. You know, be yourself. Now Rookie can actually do that and rely on his team. Well, that means he's going to win lane. That means he's going to team fight like a god, and the plays that he can make, specifically even on Orianna, are incredible.
Exactly that. He no longer has to be that playmaker that has to step forward and always come to the plate when he's needed to. He can now facilitate players like Nick, facilitate players like Jackalop, and it's allowed Invictus Gaming to be the most dominant team in the LPL so far.
And while we're going down memory road of all the picks that he's gone towards, it just showcases, specifically when he was going up against Knight, he can just go back to the Rookie of last year, when he can just flex on you within the laning phase and go towards the Lucian pick. So it's not that he's just going to be like, I'm going to support my team, I'm going to play the Karmas and Oriannas. No, he's willing to be able to carry straight from the lane itself.
Yeah, definitely an impressive player with a plethora of champions for what it's worth as well. You mentioned the aggression in lane if he chooses to do so. He can play the control mages if need be, but not just your traditional control mages. He's actually one of the few Orianna players that the world currently has as well. So he's got his pocket picks above all else, and I think that's what makes him so scary and allows IG to do so much with target bans against him.
It's a pocket pick and a signature pick for Rookie in the mid lane. He's played it so many times, not just this split, but splits before, and still shows that he's dominant on the champion.
And it's just, if you look towards the MVP list, if you just look towards what we've even put on our own social media about who are the players of the split, Rookie is, of course, the mid laner. But Invictus Gaming is going to be rounding out a lot of it, and it just showcases Invictus Gaming's strength as strong solo laners, and I don't know who's going to be able to beat them just in the laning phase alone, just because, of course, Rookie in the mid lane, the Shy in the top lane. We're going to be having a discussion about that. But scary team, scary team.
They've been the most dominant team in Spring Split, only dropping one game to RNG in the opening match of the LPL. So rightfully so, deserving his MVP status in the mid lane for Invictus Gaming. We know that Ning also got a nominee for his team. The entirety of IGF looks so strong. And this has been Rookie's split, and he is looking towards heading to MSI if they can run the gauntlet and take down whichever team they meet in the finals.
I just don't feel like pressure really impacts him. Just a moment ago, before he was even about to get on stage, just eating a bucket of ice cream really in the makeup room.
Yes, he was.
That's the demeanor of Rookie. I mean, every single time you have interviews with him, questions with him, he's a very happy-go-lucky guy. He works hard, but he, you know, still has some fun while doing so.
There's a very important thing about that aura you have as the experienced member of a team. You know, the fact that you can be a happy-go-lucky guy, all smiles, all happiness, it does do wonders for you. When your rookies come in and they see you being so calm and so enthusiastic and just so happy to be there.
He's saying that today is special because he's been in the LPL for 3 years, and it's the first time that he's been able to pick up an MVP. And rightfully so. We talked about it. He's had so many great splits, but this split he's just been the best.
It's hilarious. I mean, I already mentioned it earlier, and the fact that the trophies have just eluded him, even though he has been the best performing mid laner. If he's not in a best performing team, oftentimes you don't get that recognition, and so the recognition is important, and at least that trophy case now has this award present for him.
It's a case of what could have been, of course, for Rookie, right? Think about the 2015 Rookie. What if he was in EDG or something like that, you know? Amazing how they could have been, but he's done it with IG.
Candace asking Rookie at the end there, what does this mean to you? And, you know, what do you want to say to your teammates? And Rookie said, if this could be a team award, I would make it one, because this was a team effort, and he just looks good off the back of his team's entire performance, which, as much as we can say, Invictus Gaming been looking really good. Yes, he rightfully deserves his MVP award. For now, though, let's get straight into the first playoff match of the day. It's going to be W taking on RNG.
There we go. I mean, that's the funny thing about this, because W and RNG.
打进了季后赛，我知道我们所处的位置很艰难，但是我们会全力去拼，让看清我们的对手后悔。
去年的春天，W拿到了第1个冠军，我很怀念当时夺冠的情景，我很想再重温一次。
我们已经连续4次杀进总决赛了，如果这一次春决没有 RNG 的话，那这个赛季對我們而言，肯定是不夠滿意的答卷吧。
經過上1年嘅低谷，我哋重新進入咗季後賽，對我哋嚟講係一個好好嘅開始。我相信我哋呢個隊伍能夠再次創造奇蹟。
很多人说我们是高开低走，但是我相信自己，更相信队友。季后赛的小道勇士不会让支持我们的人失望。
Snake 已经不再是一支新队了，但是这个赛季我们又找回了最开始的那股冲劲，我们想代表重庆走得更远一些。
我知道有很多人在等着我回 EDG， 既然现在我回来了，就把你们安排得明明白白的。
我来到 LPL 已经有3年的时间，没有比现在更好的机会了。努力了这么久，也该轮到 IG 了。
6 paths, they're calling me Madara. Your guys will hide in the mystic. My brothers put iron in fists like Kazuya. Man call me an amateur. I put numbers and squares like dates on a calendar. Had everyone dressed in black like I came here trying to unlock a new character. Had everyone dressed in black with a bottle in hand like Lei Wulong. Walk in a party, see a Barbie looking nice, I just give her a smile and a wink. Could have been dead, I could have been rich, I could have been locked in a cage.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the English broadcast of the Chinese LPL. Before we jump to that quick video piece, Raz was so excited, and rightfully so, because this is finally playoffs. The spring split group stages are officially over. We're getting into the first round 1 match, which is going to be today. Team WE taking on RNG, both teams semi-finalists from Worlds last year. They just walked on stage. The crowd is absolutely packed here. Everyone has gathered to watch these two titans go up against each other, and it just seems fated that they're always going to play against each other during playoffs.
Hell yeah, I just want to talk about it, man. Let's talk about the matchup, all right? RNG, WE, and we get the treat early. I was just talking about, you know, Rookie eating some ice cream before. This is that ice cream for us. And it's a little bit, it's like before we go to bed, ruin our dinner, ruin the finals just because it feels like a finals here today.
No, he's right. I mean, it's exciting. I always have dessert before bed as well, personally. But hey, it's still good to have it.
Let's go through the entrees first, because this is the first day that we have in playoffs. So let's take a look at the standings from the group stages of the spring split, the 2018 LPL. This is how everything shaped up, and these are the 8 teams that we're playing during playoffs.
And it is important to note that, yes, 4th is playing 3rd today, but the standings, everyone is fighting against the first place teams eventually. IG managed to finish the split 18-1, winning 18 sets in a row after they lost their first set of the split. They are the true gods of the league right now. They are the team to beat.
And hilariously enough, if you talk about week 1, it was RNG that took the set versus Invictus Gaming, looking strong, of course, at the very end of the split. And if you were able to catch a glance onto WE, tied in series versus Fun Plus Phoenix, so it was a really close finish for them to finally get into the playoffs, and they both face off tonight.
Well, we just saw the MVP award being given out for the split, which went over to Rookie. We had 5 nominees for that award as well, but we also have our all LPL teams, so to speak. We have 3 of them. And first up, we're going to take that look at the first team. These are who we think are the best 5 in their positions in the LPL.
And you know who got robbed when it came to MVP nominations? The Shy immediately, because it was his split. I mean, Rookie talking about the fact that it was a team award when he received it because his team just got an award in terms of all LPL first team.
Yeah, I mean, you could take one step further and even consider FLICKR, and he's definitely worthy of the top 3 spots. But as you go through the first team list, I cannot think of a stronger 5-man roster to send to a tournament. And this is very close to what we could even send to the All-Star tournament at the end of this year if form continues.
Only 2 members that are not from Invictus Gaming in the first team as well. Uzi as well as Maker. They've been standouts in their position. Uzi showing that he's still one of the most dominant AD carries that League of Legends has ever seen. And we started this split saying that the Youngblood could try and overthrow him. They have not been able to do
They
so.
said, come and get me, right? And they still haven't been able to catch up to Uzi yet when he came in partway through.
But we do have a couple of Youngbloods in the second All-LPL team, especially in that bottom lane matchup. Surprise, surprise, there are still a couple of Invictus Gaming members there who missed out getting into the first team.
Round them out at the end. I mean, sure, this kind of feels bad when you're looking towards the list and you're like, wait a minute, everyone on IG? But that's because they all performed incredibly well individually. It felt like teams that went up against them couldn't even get past them in terms of the early laning phase. You already mentioned the Snake players as well, FLICKR and SOFM rounding out the top side of the map. And of course, GA, an MVP performance in the split. It just felt unfair that he wasn't able to receive the MVP because he's in the same league as Rookie.
Well, let's dive straight into the third team that we have because we're going to get quickly into this first round match. The third team is basically the final 5, the ones who just quite couldn't make it onto the first 2. And again, a lot of familiar players as we got newcomers into the LPL, such as Jungler for RNG Casa.
And this is where we have to hit the BLG members as well. Road being able to scrape in the 3rd place position for supports. It was a hotly contested role. That was probably the role with the most votes between everybody looking towards it, and he gets to work with SMLZ, someone who was very close to getting into that top 2 as well. All of these players, very strong individuals that just didn't do as much as the players above them, but they still did so much. And
that's why you just gotta have to keep your eyes on specifically Scout and SMLZ, because although near the end of the split, there were a lot of, I would say, evidence that they're not performing well consistently. When you come in playoff time, you expect to find that performance. SMLZ will have that performance, and Scout, you always have to be ready for it.
Well, it is playoff time, so let's actually take a look at the schedule for playoffs for Spring Split 2018. It's going to start with today's matches. Team WE taking on RNG. We have another round 1 match coming up tomorrow, which is going to be BLG taking on Jindong Gaming.
And it's important to note, of course, as you're looking at round 1, that it is 1-0. Now, that is because of their placements in the standings. RNG and BLG both finished 3rd, respectively, so they do get a 1-map advantage. They played 19 best-of-3s this split, so they get rewarded for finishing.
Whereas the advantage that Rogue Warriors and Snake get is an extra round bye. Invictus Gaming and EDG for finishing 1st in their conferences will get a full 2 rounds bye. Straight into the semi-finals. They are already guaranteed a Rift Rivals spot, and they're 1 game away from making it to the finals.
Yep, and if you have a regular season where you're playing about 310 games plus, then you better be rewarded for it, and they did. It took a long time to get it, and it came down to the final week, but we finally got those teams already in place now.
Well, let's dive straight into the first match that we have. Team WE taking on RNG in today's game. These are the 2 semi-finalists from World Championships last year, and they're going to go up against each other in the first round of playoffs. And just a reminder, as Rusty was saying early on, RNG do have a game advantage. It will be a weighted best-of-5 in their favor.
And you know what the best thing is about this set? It's the fact that if you win this, you have to play against Snake. And if you win that, you have to play against IG. This is the hardest side of the bracket. I could not imagine being one of these 2 teams right now, let alone WE, who have to start this set 0-1 down.
It's going to be like some golden ticket. I don't even know what it is. If you can take the victory versus, at the very least, if you get far enough to go up against Invictus Gaming and take it, then of course it seems like you're destined for the finals, destined for that victory.
Well, the first thing that we really have to touch on moving into this game is that we are playing on 8.6 for the rest of playoffs. These are the changes that the LPL team think that are most important for 8.6. So clip it, take a look, take a snapshot, now get it out of here, because we're going to dive straight into the team strengths for these 2 teams. WE taking on RNG. Gentlemen, what do you 2 want to talk about?
Where do you want to start, Raz? Pick a team.
All right, you know what? Let's go with RNG. I'll go with RNG just because I felt like they were the team at the very beginning. Off-season went through, and we saw them on paper, and we're like, oh, this is a finalist team. This is a team, you bring in Karsa, and immediately that's an upgrade in terms of consistency. We wanted consistency out of the jungle. You had Karsa versus MLXG. MLXG had a high that he could go hard and be able to take a victory from you in the 10-minute mark if he gets that kill. But there would be moments in high-pressure situations where it wouldn't work out for him, and so bringing in Karsa felt like they can start to challenge that role and find themselves later down the line with that victory.
And again, we have to look towards the Crownless King for RNG as well. Yes, Cast has been brought in as a new jungler for the squad. They've been swapping around their top laners as well. But Uzi has been having the best domestic split of his life so far. He normally performs incredibly well internationally, but it's rare to see him have such a dominant domestic split.
Yeah, and I think the dominance is, he's always had a lane dominance. He's always performed well during his laning phases, but this has been extreme. He has taken all of that victories to the next level. He's not just been great, but he has been exceptional and exquisite, honestly, through his laning pressure. You can see a lot of the stats now on your screen, specifically for Uzi as well. He is a major part of their CSD and their CS per minute leads that the whole team has. He actually inflates those stats to make RNG look good. That's how good Uzi is.
Yeah, and when you look at second place, which is iBoy, it's still a stark difference, a 5 CS difference within the laning phase. So once he joined the team, Invictus Gaming had a raw advantage, or at least an identity around that bottom lane, so they can work around that, and then once they get into the mid portions of the game, they can start going for the 1-3-1s for themselves.
They're a very similar team that in terms of playstyle to Invictus Game, where they like to go to those 1-3-1s. We saw the stats earlier. Very low team fights in terms of the amount of games that they play about. They average 2 team fights throughout an entire match, which is the second lowest in the LPL.
Yeah, definitely not the biggest team fighting teams, but if it comes to it, you know, if it comes to that team fighting stage in the later game, and some teams such as WE may try and take that to them, I don't think that RNG won't be able to keep up with them by any means. It's just that they have this better style they choose to take.
Yeah, I wonder, I'm going to immediately just hit the point of, if it's Karsa, then I expect cleaner 1-3-1s. If it's going to be MLXG, then I should see more team fights, just in the sense that they need to back them up in their invades.
But this is what Team WE excel at. They excel at going for those 5-on-5 team fights. This is a team that has been branded around going to late game and fighting you 5-on-5.
Yeah, they statistically have the most team fight victories, which is a very weird thing to say because they do team fight a lot. So the fact that they win those team fights a lot shows where their strengths genuinely are. And the hard part for Team WE has always been getting there. But if they do, you cannot stop them.
Which is surprising because we talked about how Xie was the one MVP coming forward, stepping up individually. So I would have expected them to be an individual-based team, win through mid lane and see if they can go for 1-3-1s as well. But it seems like the main shot caller from 2017 to the shot caller of 2018, Xie, has decided that team fights is the release the WE style.
And Xie started the split incredibly strong. He was in contention for our MVP of the entire split as well, just through his weeks 1-5 performance. And from the point we get to see these miracle moments coming out of the mid laner of WE, he starts to develop more team play. He doesn't just commit to constant assassins like he was doing here. He actually brings about the Galio. So when you talk about team fight victories and the fact that individuals may not always be there for WE, they pick the compositions that give them the same strengths they've always had, and they do win through it.
And that's why RNG tonight have to be aware of the compositions that make WE successful. We remember in previous internationals that it was just about the Galio Jarvan. It seems like they're going right back to that again. It's simple enough, and a lot of the questions that we've had towards Magic is resolved when he's on the Jarvan, so he has to be denied that.
Because it allows WE to make their magic happen. But excuse that, please. I'm never going to say that again. That was... Oops. No, WE getting to those team fights, having the composition that makes it easier. For the new members of the side, like Celestial and Magic, Jarvan makes a lot of sense. MLXG plays Jarvan for a very obvious reason, because even if he's caught out of position, he can get away. And if he's out of position, he can actually go in. So it helps a lot for those players.
And it also allows Mystic to perform, have the space to walk forward. So it empowers the two members that we've been talking about, the simplicity, of course, of the composition, but obviously the members of Mystic and Magic, so they can work their magic.
And speaking
I did it for you.
And speaking of Mystic, he's going to be up against Uzi today in the bottom lane. The two 80 carries. This is a rivalry that has spread across multiple splits between these two players.
Yeah, definitely a big rivalry starting to crop up perhaps between these two respective 80 carries. Uzi's always been the top dog that you want to take down, but domestically we've seen Mystic actually take him down, especially in the 2017 spring split, and for most of 2017 when WE did look like the superior team overall, but he was always the one challenging them for the throne. Uzi was always just nipping at the heels of Mystic as he was trying to break away.
Yeah, and this time around, it's just Mystic being the challenger this time around. I think that Mystic had a pretty poor split as a whole. There have been mispositioning errors from him from time to time, but he's had shown up. And so the stats that you do see here, the CS differences, the deaths per game, kills and deaths and assists, just showcases that he's at the very least consistent throughout the wide margin. It's just about when the team fights start, he needs to be behind his tanks.
And to give some context here as well, the difference in Mystic's stats is from the whole split compared to the past 2 weeks, and where a lot of the stats looked better, that was actually Mystic in the past 2 weeks, performing better than he has been all split long. He's starting to ramp up. He's actually starting to hit the finals in closer to a sprint. It may not be his absolute all-time best, but he's getting very close to it once again.
And we're getting very close to getting into game number 1 between RNG and Team WE. Reminder to everyone back at home, yes, this is game 1, but RNG do have a single game advantage moving into this best of 5 series. They are the team that we think is weighted in their favor to pick up the match here.
And it's simple enough, best of 3 versus best of 5. RNG just has to win 2 games in this series. Strategically, makes a lot more sense to just kind of take a few more chances, which is why when you see the lineup, you're like, okay, I'm just going to spoil it for you, by the way. MLXG is starting, so I want to see how that goes to show if they have the faith in him to start out strong.
The cool thing about a weighted gauntlet like this, a weighted best of 5, is that if you do win that first game with something innovative or different, it's actually a 2-0 lead. And so the pressure mounts more so for your opponent that has lost that game. For WE, in this case, if you win game number 1, congratulations, the set is even, and then you've just revealed a strategy perhaps to even get that win in the first place.
Well, let's take a look at the 2 teams' lineups. For Team WE, 957, Magic, Seer, Mystic, as well as Celestial.
They've kept it standard, they kept it close. Magic has been performing near the end of the split, the same as true for Mystic, so I want to see if they can perform here tonight.
Whereas for RNG, it's Satai in the top lane. They're going to be starting with MLXG, Xiaohu in the mid lane, the Mad Dog Uzi in the bottom lane with his partner in crime, Me.
So the first things first, Zatai is in instead of Let Me, and then the second thing is the man, the myth, the MLX Jesus is in the first game here as well for RNG. I am excited to see how he goes.
I'm excited too. I think top lane is going to be a major point of focus just because MLXG, when he senses any point of weakness, he just goes. He's a skirmish jungler a lot of the times. In the beginning of the split, it's the Camille's, it's the Jax. Not relevant now. I think the Trundle is going to be something he looks towards just so he can evade a little bit harder.
Perhaps, yeah.
I just want to see what he can do early because he wants to go top side and enables a tie.
You know, I have a feeling that he's just going to try and commit to the Jarvan anyway, just because, again, he is the Jarvan player and he's against Magic on the side of WE, so that's probably like the #1 jungler as a denial tool and as a pick for him as a style.
Well, we're about to get into that first match quickly, so gentlemen, I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, are we going to see Kai'Sa played here today?
Hell yeah. Well, unless if it's banned, so I think that's the real trick to the question. If it's banned, I'll say yes. Someone will allow it to go. I think Uzi won't play it. Mystic has been trying his hardest, so he's going to try his hand at it until maybe he succeeds a little bit too hard, then RNG is going to try and ban it in the second game.
Yeah, I have no expectations of RNG playing it. I think that if anyone does, it will be Team WE, and I think that RNG are just going to ban it instead. So we may not see it. I'm going to say yes, though, just hoping that RNG don't ban it.
2 yeses.
Well, next question I have for you two then, since we can probably see Kai'Sa play, we know that Mystic's played it before. Can Team WE get that miracle team fight? Because we know if it goes to beyond 40 minutes, they have a 72% win rate.
I've decided, and this is going to be a spoiler for my later on thing, miracle team fights usually mean that they win a game. So I'm just going to come out and say that they will win a game, that one team fight will come through. And it's hard to expect it. If they get the composition we've been talking about, then that's what matters for me.
I'm just going to say no.
Oh,
They're not going to get a miracle team fight. They're statistically very bad at 20 minutes in the game. RNG will be able to excel and get ahead in lanes. Then they'll just 1-3-1. You don't get a team fight in a 1-3-1.
Well, there you go. So quickly, we're about to get into that first match. Raz, you said they can win a game. What's your predictions for this series?
It's RNG's. They're going to take it. If it's about the series, RNG is going to win. But WE is going to make it competitive for at least one game.
And Rusty, you said they're not going to win a single match. So what's the score here if RNG win?
2-0 to RNG. They already start with 1, to be fair. So 3-0 to RNG.
Well, there you go. Both our analysts here think that RNG are going to be the ones to pick up this series. Let's send it over to our casters, getting straight into Champion Select.
That we are. You can see it in the background. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for your excellent predictions. But hurry up next time. We have got RNG versus WE, and we are in picks and bans, and we are so excited. And because this is a huge matchup. This is the 4th time these teams have clashed into playoffs. And currently, RNG have the match win at 2-1 over WE. But WE have actually got more game wins over RNG. And I know you don't count it like that, Frost, but we got to take stock because we are already into pick and ban. And there's the Kai'Sa.
And there's the answer to the first question. Was Kai'Sa going to be a priority ban from red side? Again, yes. We are technically in game 1. RNG have a point advantage due to the higher seed. So that's why it says 0-1 at the top of your screen. And I have a feeling that we're never going to see Kai'Sa this entire split.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tragedy on the 8.6, but hey, we'll see how these teams change it up. Zatai in for Let Me in the top lane. His most played champion is Swain, and his first pick champion for RNG is Swain. Uzi taking his 3rd Xayah game of all time.
So what's interesting here is that this is Team WE throwing the gauntlet. Uzi was heavily criticized by the community for not playing Xayah come 2017 Worlds. He recently dispelled that, brought out the Xayah against LGD, and absolutely smashed that team, showcasing, yes, I can play the champion. It is Mystic's #1 pick, his signature champion. They grab a first priority Rakan, and they force Uzi onto a pick that I don't think that they believe he's comfortable on. I think this is Mystic saying, can you actually play this against the best Xayah in the world? Because we're about to find out.
Yeah, we certainly are. Varus is the answer from Mystic. He's playing against the best AD carry in the world. And if at one point he might have been the best Xayah, he's facing off against Uzi in some of the best form we've ever seen from him. He will have Celestial to back him up on that Rakan, but Ming now picks up his Alistar, and this bottom lane is looking spicy.
Calm down a little bit. He hasn't gotten to go to MSI yet and prove that he's the best AD carry in the world, but he is definitely one of the best in the world. No one is going to dispute that. And just to echo you, Dom, I have been such a huge critic of Uzi over the course of his career. I've never thought that at any point in time that he was definitively the best ADC in the LPL. 2018 spring, Uzi is the best. Head and shoulders way above anyone else.
Absolutely. Hands down, a spectacular performance from him. Question is, will RNG play around that style here today? Because we do have MLXG and Zatai in for today. Zatai taking that Swain likely in the top lane, though we know it could be flexed. And 957, who's been having a stellar performance, is taking the Gnar to answer.
Yeah, interesting. So the thing is that Swain has a really good, Camille has a decent matchup into Swain, and so it's very surprising to me that 957 would grab hold of the Gnar when he had options to go for the Camille. We now see that it's been banned out in secondary phase. I believe that's actually a jungle ban against MLXG.
Yes.
Because when you actually look at the difference between MLXG and Karsa, there are some champion pool differences outside of the obvious playstyle differences, and Jax and Camille are kind of the two that really stick out that also did get kind of some tweaks on this most recent patch, specifically the Jax.
Yes, well, we'll see if MLXG takes that or if he looks for something a bit more standard instead, because we are now looking at mid lane and jungle picks for these two teams, unless that Swain ends up getting flexed towards Xiaohu. Because now, with counter picks still available for RNG, you've got to wonder, what do they try to prioritize? It's Gragas for MLXG.
Interesting. So this isn't the first Gragas of the LPL, and we'll see how this series goes to see if it's going to be the last, but Gragas has been very hit and miss for me. You know, he's kind of middle in the road in terms of his jungle clear. He doesn't really fit as too much of like a skirmish or a tempo-oriented jungler. He's just kind of right in the pocket, and a lot of the teams are grabbing him more so to disrupt compositions or to have some sort of interesting pairing or matchup.
We'll see how that works out for MLXG, of course, playing his first game for RNG in 3 weeks, and Xie blind picks Cassiopeia in the mid lane. He has been on fire for Team WE throughout the entire split, the only one with a consistently spectacular performance. He knows he might be up against this Swain, but this is a statement from Xie in the mid lane.
This is also Xie being robbed of any mention of MVP. Yes, I think that Rookie deserves it, but I cannot believe that Xie didn't even make the shortlist there. MVP in my heart.
And of course, to follow him out, the helicopter parent, as we so like to call him, Magic, the new jungler for Team WE in his first ever LPL playoff game, taking Sejuani for some pretty safe engage and something that could possibly also follow up on that Cassiopeia, but that means Xiaohu in the mid lane sees that, gets to pick himself some counter pick, takes some long-range safety on Orianna.
So this is a very different look from RNG. We talked about on the desk how they're a 1-3-1 team. They have the lowest team fight or number of team fights per victory or per game. They also have the lowest kills plus assists. So when they do kill people, they're never doing it together. It's about playing those side lanes, it's about making those rotations or finding those assassins. This is a straight 5v5 composition. You've got so much zone control between the Orianna and the Swain. You have the Xayah, the Alistar, the Gragas to reset a team fight when Team WE try to roll over. This is RNG meeting Team WE on their own terms.
Which is a bit concerning considering how RNG's form has been so spectacular over the past weeks, and WE has been the team that has been looking a little bit faulty. And certainly, though we do have some slight patch changes going into 8.6, it's only been a week turnaround since we saw WE's loss to OMG in their arena in Chengdu. So to see RNG sort of give these concessions over in game one of this series could just be RNG saying, hey, we'll play you at your own style and we'll be better than you.
It's also the fact that we don't have tape of RNG doing this, especially with MLXG. The last time we saw MLX Jesus, as Rusty likes to call him, was 3 weeks ago against JD Gaming, in which RNG lost.
Definitely a statement for RNG to try to match it, because this is the new age rivalry. As I said, this is the 4th time in 5 playoffs that these two teams have met. It was semifinals, finals, then another semis, and now round 1 that these teams are meeting again. And while RNG currently holds the match wins, WE hold the game wins.
They also hold the championship win.
Yes, that too, which RNG still have yet to claim with Uzi. The Mad Dog, one of the best AD carries in the world. He's made it into playoffs once again, but if he wants that title, if he wants to go to MSI, it starts here.
RNG have never missed an LPL final since 2015. That is 4 back-to-back consecutive splits. Their playoff run starts now.
As we load onto the Rift, the arena is packed. The playoffs have officially begun.
.500 strong, standing in the Shanghai Battle Arena at the top of the Super Brand Mall. We are one of the largest live venues in all of the LCS, League of Legends. Just LCS, all of it.
Yes, all of it. Definitely superior. Meanwhile, Uzi and Ming, you can see right now, they are now playing their 100th duo game. Compare that with Mystic and Celestial. They've played a grand total of 30 games together. Uzi and Ming have 3 times as much on-stage experience.
All I'm going to say is iBoy only played 22 games, and he was able to take down Uzi, so who's to say that Celestial can't bring some magic?
Yes. Well, no, magic's in the jungle.
You're just supposed to roll over that joke.
We're supposed to see how this game works out. Regardless, both junglers starting off with that red buff. Zatai giving Alish up top. Magic on the Sejuani, happily starting off with his own red. That does mean Uzi and Ming will get that early bottom lane priority. And we know Uzi is one of the best lane... Sorry, I'm trying to be general here.
No,
the best laner
he is the best
in the
laner.
league.
We can't say he's the best ADC in the world yet, but we can say that he is the best laning ADC in the world. He's proven that.
Yes.
And it is, reminder, 8.6, so Xayah has seen a couple of her changes here. Again, this was a priority pick of Rakan, not Xayah for Mystic. And normally you would see it the other way around. So again, I feel this is Mystic looking at Uzi and testing him. Can you actually play this champion as well as I understand her?
And this always is the question between these two. Does Uzi actually see Mystic as a rival, considering the number of times that they meet and clash? Because they both have that propensity to single-handedly carry games. We haven't seen a lot from it Mystic lately this split, but hey, it's playoffs time. 957 has got the playoffs buff. Maybe it's a proximity thing.
Unfortunately, in 2017, I actually thought that Mystic was the better ADC than than Uzi. He did get to prove that as they did meet multiple times in best of series, and he did get the cutting edge over him, but Mystic has been fairly inconsistent over the course of 2018 so far. If you haven't been keeping up to the LPL, he tends to die a lot.
He does. And as a result of that, WE are taking the lower seed. Now on the bottom of your screen, you can actually see that lower seeds have a pretty even chance to overcome the 0-1 deficit and advance in 3 out of the 8 last stacked series. We saw the lower seed advance.
Historically, normally these matches are pretty one-sided, heavily weighted, but that's because the LPL has had such a drastic drop-off between the top 4 teams and the middle of the pack. This split, however, the middle of the pack teams are so strong, and that's why we actually see RNG and WE sitting all the way down in round 1 as opposed to semis or quarters.
Magic now invading onto MLXG, who's able to secure his own camp, running Predator Gragas as he clears that out.
My issue here is that you had the opportunity to pick Sejuani and you went for the Gragas. Now, the other Gragas player that we've seen crop up in the LPL is Invictus Gaming's Ming, but it still felt like a very bizarre or out-of-place pick. And when Sejuani gets tempo on you to not only dominate the Scuttlecrab River, but also invade you, place vision, and shove you off of your objectives, I feel like you're going to have a bad time. Normally, you kind of pick one or the other. You want like the heavy dueling jungle so you can at least get tempo advantage over Sejuani, because otherwise, she's just going to bully you around, take everything that you want, and track you better.
It could perhaps be the litmus test for RNG, playing the MLXG Zatai style of playing as compared to the Karsa Let Me. Because again, they have a game advantage. They have a game to lose. That said, if they do lose the game, that becomes a momentum challenge. As MLXG with the big smite.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you want to do to Sejuani.
So often we talk about statements in the LPL, but MLXG, he just puts a period at the end of that. You invade me, I invade you. The big question is, though,
he failed.
Oh, yeah, he actually bumped into the Raptor there. How do the mid laners enable or disable this? Xie, in the last 2 sets that we saw, has taken a step to support Magic's invade on the other side. He was the one who set up the ward that allowed Magic to look for those Raptors. Now, it's Xiao who's setting up MLXG to push.
Exactly. You're getting your answer right now, Dom. It's the fact that Xie was low on mana, didn't get to see some of the early trades in the mid lane that could have indicated that, but Xiao, who had the mana, had the health advantage, and allowed MLXG to contest forward this Raptor camp. And I think he's going to make it out. Needs to be careful, though.
Yeah, we're actually seeing...
Here comes Cass. He overstayed.
Wow, what looks a little bit close to an all-in. That's the slow. Can't proc a stun quite yet as MLXG holds on to his flash and just walks it out. That means MLXG will happily take control of Scuttle, though.
And it's fine. He's going to lose the Scuttle Crab, and you can say that, yes, MLXG is just going to either recoup his health or make a back. He's actually forced to take his Wolf Camp because he doesn't want to make the back right now and then lose that entire side of the jungle to Sejuani. But that's kind of classic MLXG, you know, just stayed a little bit too long, wasn't quite punished for it, but could have been.
And the big scare with this sort of style from MLXG, that he was going to skirmish and invade on the opposing jungler, was that Magic wouldn't be able to compete. He is, after all, only 30 games into the LPL, but he meets MLXG head-to-head, doesn't turn around and run away as he might have just a few weeks ago. So already we're starting to see some growth in this statement game for WE.
It is fairly easy to tell where Magic is going to be, however. Yes, they have a Cassiopeia. Cass really thrives when she does, or when she is forward in that lane, aggressively using her spells, but then that exposes her to the ganks, which is why it's so important that they team up like this to lay down the safety vision.
And that is already working out for WE's favor. You can see Xie's stats in the mid lane. We lauded him earlier as the second best mid laner in the league. Well, there you go. His damage percent, damage taken, that's the famous Galio stat. And kill participation is incredibly high. Well, we don't have that first blood yet. We'll see if he bumps her up from third to second.
And it's not just in his individual mechanics that Xie is stepping up. He is becoming a primary shot caller for the team. We had an interview with Celestial a few weeks ago where they made this crazy play, and Clement got to ask him, you know, who made the call for that type of pick? Immediately, Xie made the call.
Yeah.
You can see him when he picks up heavy roam champions like the Galio, like the Ryze, like his Talia. You'll start seeing him cheating and trying to puppet master the rest of the map. So if Xie is there first, things tend to go well for Team WE. If you lock him down, if you keep him in this lane, I think you can exploit them because they don't have direction without Condi or Xie.
And that's where we see the veteran of Xie stepping up for his team, taking that captain role, as he and Mystic are the most played, or sorry, are the duo that have the most games in LPL history, overtaking Mako. That's a flash away from Ming as level 6 is picked up by Mystic. Already showing some aggression against Uzi and Ming.
Yeah, trying to abuse the mismatch level between 6 and 5. Unfortunately, Ali and Xayah don't have access to their ultimates to disengage from a type of CC lock like that.
And though we don't have a lot of action this early on into the game just yet, you can see how tense these two teams are. It's almost like a tightly wound string ready to break at the first sign of any gank or anything.
And we do expect these early games to be fairly measured or cautious. Neither of these teams are big team fighting teams. RNG, again, they like the 1-3-1. Team WE are more about the late game team fight.
Did MLXG just get in there?
Yeah, we may be treated to our very first skirmish.
Cash knocks him back in. He's pinned against the wall, but flashes to Magic. That's a quick save from Celestial.
At least forcing the flash off of the Varus means that it should be a very easy repeat gank. And the fact that they were able to do that without Alistar having flash. So we're starting to see why the Gragas pick was the go-to for MLXG and where the combos and the practice maneuvers are paying off for them. So that was a sick cask.
Yeah. Knocking Mystic into Ming, setting up, but still no items in that bottom lane. Haven't even seen the the health potions confused. Yeah, Doran's potions. Regular potions consumed. As it's just all about the minions, all about the CS. And as expected, even just in the standard laning phase, Uzi is starting to open up an advantage.
Yeah, his CS difference at 15, I believe, is 13.
Full minions, yeah.
And the next closest person to him is...
no, 18.
It's 18. The next closest person to him is 13, and the person beneath that is 9. So Uzi is a big difference, and he, across the board, elevates RNG stats. When you start to look at their team laning stats, they're head and shoulders above any other team in the LPL, and a lot of that is just based off of Uzi's power.
And by comparison, Mystic, he's 6th, or I believe 5th in the CSD at 15, at about 3 CS ahead. That's a grand total of 15 minions games, which is 300 to 400 gold, depending on the waves and a cannon creep. Uzi gets a kill just by being that much better. Sorry, a kill's worth of gold.
And what's interesting is that Uzi has the highest gold share of any player in the LPL, which that makes sense. He's the best ADC. But a lot of people would read that stat and say that that's RNG funneling all of the resources into Uzi, and that's not necessarily true. What we're saying is that Uzi also does just a great job of building his own gold lead. You know, pulls himself up from his bootstraps, makes his own fortune, and then his team gives him everything.
Yeah. And it is because of that Uzi is lauded as the best AD carry in the league, perhaps one of the best, or well, definitely one of the best, but perhaps the best in the world, as he is able to so often open up that advantage
You're really
for his team.
skirting that line.
Yeah, well, look, I want to call him the best in the world because he's the best in our league, and I think the LPL is the best in the world.
I follow the logic. Here we go, round 2, no flash on Varus.
Let's see, Ming has got his cask ready, holding on to the flash body slam, but MLXG doesn't find the opening he needs. Take a look at where Magic is, though. He's actually skirting around the opposite side, perhaps looking at Xiaohu. The Shockwave did just come up, and yeah, Xie and Magic are down here.
Easily spotted out, however. It feels that both teams, WE and RNG, have a read about where either jungler is, and they should just be able to shove this in and make their backs. Come on, Celestial, come home.
No, he's just going to stay in lane. In the top lane, though, 957 happily pushing into Zatai.
At this point in the game, though, I know that there's been a lot of attention and focus on the bottom lane. That's the very clear play from RNG, what they want to punish. In fact, so much so that Ming is going all the way around, probably to check for vision, clear things out, try to open up that pathway. Just hold on, I'll shelf this thought. Uh-oh.
Throwing out a ward.
The
Celestial's
bait is
already
real.
pulling back, yeah. Look at how close MLXG is playing to this side. Even Xiaohu was on his way down.
But this is the clear play from RNG, but Team WE from blue side, they have much better gank angles in on the mid lane, and they still have a Sejuani and a Rakan. So I feel like WE, if they want to force Xie unlocked from this lane because he is the Cassiopeia, instead of drawing attention bottom and meeting RNG here, they do have the option that they can actually look mid, unlock that unlock the Rakan because Varus can just sit back safely, especially if the wave is crashing into him, and throw Sej and Rakan mid lane.
But look at where the vision for WE has just been placed. Magic, oh, missed that one. As MLXG will take that with Runic Echoes. Oh boy, Celestial, you're getting close there. That's the knock-up. 1, 2, 3 feathers, but no snare. Allows Celestial to walk up and start contesting this vision. Magic is still on this bottom side, but there is a lot of aggressive vision from WE on that top half of the map. The Pixel Brush, and Magic is going to spot out MLXG, start the Dragon.
This is actually a good read from WE, understanding that MLXG's red buff has spawned, so he's going to be on the top side of the map. They now have vision that Xiaohu has gone back, and so they're very quickly going to grab an Ocean Drake. Of course, Ocean is so important for a lane phase, and I feel like we're going to have a very extended lane phase. Already 12 minutes and Tower hasn't gone down.
I mean, you even just saw the Gathering Storm on Zatai in the top lane on that Swain. Everybody is playing for the late game right here as Dragon is picked up. Magic looks to steal away the blue and pass it over to Xie.
And still having good information and read about where MLXG was. You can see that his red buff is warded. They know that he's not going to be here for about 30 seconds. Opens up the possibility to make a play bottom, although with Alistar and Xayah, very scared to do so.
Still, though, the laning phase continues. 13 minutes in, 300 gold advantage for WE as just about every single lane is going even. But take a look at this. Magic, he's been spotted by a ward. There are pings on top of him.
And RNG, they initially didn't know where Magic was. Yes, they spotted him out with the pings, but MLXG was pulled down bottom, and backs were almost canceled. Hold on.
Oh, Celestial dodges away to Mystic using that grand entrance, but that is the cask now used from MLXG. And RNG, choosing the teamfight composition, find themselves slowly but surely losing inches to WE.
Could have had a Sejuani. Could have made that exact same play.
Yep. But we don't see that. Instead, it is the teamfight composition from RNG. Again, they do have one game advantage over Team WE. And while you do want to win early and go home, what better way than to scrim on stage against one of the best teams in the world?
I just feel like if you get a free coupon, you don't waste it on... I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where Gragas is
freebie.
going to fit in the analogy.
But back onto the map.
Oatmeal raisin cookie. If you have
Oatmeal
a free,
raisin?
if you have a free coupon for cookies, you
Some
get the
people
chocolate
like
chip.
oatmeal raisin, all right?
I actually really like it.
Yeah. Some people aren't fans of chocolate. It's uncommon, but it is entirely true. Magic's now still on this bottom half of the map.
So we can talk about this now. 8-point 6, you can see that Varus has completed the Rage Blade. That's fairly standard. This is the big adjustment patch for the Rage Blade. Its damage is absurd, especially when you start having extra amplifiers of magic on hit procs. Now I'm curious what the end of the Varus build will be. I was checking out Loken solo queue, although I'm gonna have to shelf it again because this is round 6 of this gank attempt.
I know. MLXG really wants to make something happen down here.
But the end of the Varus builds, I'm very curious. Loken was playing a pretty standard Varus. He had the Rage Blade, he went for the 80 and then the Hurricane, whereas other Varus builds have been experimenting with the Void Staff, with the Death Cap, with stacking magic
AP,
damage
yeah.
and grabbing that Gnasher's Tooth as well. So definitely want to keep our eyes peeled on that. Is action? Nope, no action.
The helicopter parent hovering once again. Xiaohu, he's got vision on this side of the map.
Cleanse.
He doesn't see Celestial over there as well. And yeah, you did mention the cleanse. Sped up, he walks away from Magic, who is finally spotted. That Frost armor broken by the command dissonance.
Just a lot of looking at each other this game.
It really is. And Magic, this seems to be a very slow, intelligent game from WE. They're playing around the vision of RNG. You can see the wards that RNG have placed to try to spot this out, but constantly sweeping in, clearing out what they can. We're also seeing Celestial and Magic work together more so than Xie and Magic from earlier in the split as they're controlling vision on this bottom half.
And the scary thing is that this isn't RNG's usual MO. They are much closer to Invictus Gaming in that it's a win lane, win game type of style, known for their 1-3-1, known for their ability to close out early games. They had one of the fastest average game times in the LPL. Team WE, if you go over 40 minutes, they have a 70% chance of winning that game.
That's a scary statistic. You do not want to take it late. It's only 24 minutes away from that, Frosk.
I guess the mentality could be as a coach perspective, if you take a team fight composition and you beat a team at what they're good at, then you mentally get inside their head. You can shake them and say, you can't even play your style against us. We gave you the champions that you like and you failed.
That said, they actually have to win though. Magic on the invade. This is a bit risky. MLXG sitting in the tri-bush. That's a knock-up. Again, the Frost armor broken. Magic turns for the engage. Ming blocking these hits as Uzi just sits back in that brush. Xie getting pulled down faster than Xiaohu means RNG can't turn what could have been a pick into a kill.
Still reading around this bot lane though, as it looks like we're actually going to try to force this. Reinforcements
down here,
and mid laners.
Over the wall, that's the knock-up. Target is going to be Celestial. He drops the quickness, goes in, dashes over the wall, but stopwatch the engage. MLXG retreats. Magic in the front, and still Mystic is free-firing. Uzi finally steps forward to match up. His teleport is completed from both top laner. Flash from 957, and over the wall he goes.
Both teleports and everyone walks away with their lives. Not even a ton of flashes expended there. I believe it was just MLXG's.
And 957 in order to escape the never move.
As the cute little Gnar was standing behind everyone about to go into Mega, he's like,
can we take this? Can
really
we do it?
Feel like
oh,
this
and look
one.
at where Xie. Oh man, just another snake in the grass. MLXG, he thinks something's wrong. He knows something's wrong. Waits out the barrel cooldown. And Xie will back away.
And that is a perfect example of how this entire game has gone for the first 18 minutes. It's just everyone knows what everyone is doing, and they're just making eyes at each other.
The new age rivalry of the LPL, WE and RNG, taking game one slowly and seriously. No cheese, no surprises, and just playing out that calm, intelligent macro team fight game. And that is actually working out for WE's favor. They're slowly increasing their gold lead up to 700 now. We're seeing the advantage for 957 in the top lane. Slight CS advantage for Xie in the mid lane. Pretty moderate advantage for Magic in the jungle. And Mystic is going even with Uzi. It's not the 15 CS differential we predicted.
But it also hasn't been an isolated 2v2. That has been a 3v3 this entire game over the repeat ganks. And yes, RNG have been ganking more often, but Sejuani has definitely had full control or more control over the bottom side of that river, giving Mystic the safety that he can trade effectively with the Varus.
You know, it's funny, we call Magic the helicopter parent for Xie because he hovered around the mid lane so much during the regular season, but MLXG is hanging around that bottom half of the map.
36% of Magic's ganks go to the mid lane. He is absolutely a helicopter parent, but like you said, kind of changing things up.
MLXG still hanging on this bottom side, communicating pretty effectively with Ming to control vision, look for these engages, waiting for WE to overstep themselves, and this could be it. Ming, headbutt pulverize. He's found Celestial. Mystic walks it back under the turret. He's stunned. MLXG, he's got the cast, but a flash gets him to safety. Xiaohu doesn't get there in time. And this is the first proactive roam we've seen from Xiaohu.
Second flash burn for Varus. See if they're able to punish it this time around, as it's also a repeat Ocean Dragon, and RNG, if they really want to try to force something out of this, could maybe look to collapse. With so many key ultimates still being up, I don't think it's likely.
So he is actually heading up towards the top half. Zatai, low health. He's got his flash. Blast Cone over the walls. Zatai pops into the Demonic Ascension. The minion wave has been cleared up, but Xie still steps forward. This could be first blood. 957 tanking, and Xie gets it passed over. Magic, meanwhile, overextends on the other side, but backs off.
And at 20 minutes in the game, on Xie's Cassiopeia of all things, we finally get a first blood. And it also showcases why Xie is so important. Even on a non-roam champion, the team still demands that he is the guy that is making the proactive plays and getting it done.
And you just saw those stats on the top of your screen. When WE get that first blood, which they do in 2/3 of their games, their win rate goes up by a whopping 15%. Magic hops over the wall a little bit late there. He's still got the Glacial Storm. Who's he going to target? Ming, but doesn't get the range. And that's just a flash from the Alistar to walk it off.
So recognizing that Ming didn't have his ultimate available, so he wouldn't be able to just pop out of the hard CC, unfortunately, Ali just gets to walk away.
Just outside of the range. And now Magic and Xie going to push up a bit in the mid lane. They know there's no flash from MLXG. They're going to push not one, but two lanes at the same time as 957 looks to take it down. Solo, first brick in the top lane.
And unfortunately, we haven't gotten a lot of time to look up into the top lane. I feel like this has really been one of those games where the top laners show up and you're like, wow, I have a Gnar?
Yeah.
There's a Swain in this game? And while there hasn't been a lot of blood action happening up there, aside from the first blood, the fact that 957 has a pretty sustainable CS lead, Gnar is considered one of the decent matchups into Swain, and just takes the tower for free, and no one came to help him. You know, we were talking before, Dom, that if you put in MLXG, this could be attention and focus for Zatai up on the top side, but he's been completely left on an island.
And I just want to point out what WE just did here on the way out of base. They didn't go into lane. They went to the Baron to check for vision to see if RNG were there. Again, this is a Cassiopeia Varus with Gwynsu's and Wit's End.
Oh, they know.
If there was an award there,
they're going to shred it.
That would have been terrifying. RNG were completely unprepared on the other side of the map. Ming is only just now getting to the Baron.
But it is very dangerous to take a fight around the Baron, which is why the vision control is so important against RNG's composition. That is an Orianna, Alistar, Gragas, Swain. Anywhere that you're clumping up like that, especially in the jungle or especially in the river, can be so punishing. So if Team WE want to try to pull the trigger on this, which it's fairly obvious, we see LPL teams itemized to do this all the time, they need to make sure that they are going to hit.
And this is where we look to 957. You mentioned his performance just a moment ago. If he can get a good flank and prevent RNG from finding the clump of the 4-man, from utilizing that 1-4 effectively, then WE could be in a much better situation. And that's exactly what we see right now. 957 on the bottom half of the map. 4 members from WE hanging out in the mid lane, looking for a vulnerability, looking for an opening. They don't find it, but they're still going to keep hunting.
So the mentality from Team WE at this point is you look at Varus' items, and even though Rageblade has been adjusted so it scales a bit better, it's still a ridiculous spike, and that's why they want to fight.
MLXG is the target. He's on Miasma, but Ming goes in. A Shockwave pulls Celestial back, and he gets dunked down. The first kill for RNG.
And this is what I suspected about the Gragas pick, is that its ability to reset teamfights or to isolate very immobile champions. If you have a Varus, a Cassiopeia, even a Rakan who's going to use his initial dive in and out, you can very quickly make snatches and grabs like that.
Zeke's convergence now finished off for Celestial. Should provide just a little bit more opportunity to get in and out in these next stages.
Absurdly so. Think about, again, we have all of these ADCs that are running around that can itemize into Nashor's, Gwynsu's, and then if you have a Zeke's on top of that, your magic damage shred is incredible. So we take another look. Again, Team WE, they want to fight because they recognize how potent and powerful Mystic is right now, but it's just a better mechanical play from RNG. The fact that the flash is pretty much means nothing because of a well-placed Shockwave.
And that said, we now see Magic and Celestial in their first ever playoff game, getting to play a slow and measured style, getting acclimated to the pressure of the stage, especially against RNG. And their veteran players of 957, Xie, and Mystic are doing well in each of their lanes. That sort of emotional boost has got to be building up these young players so much, which could provide a lot of momentum for WE in this series. If we end up going 1-1, even overall, just down to a best of 3, this could be an explosive best of 5.
And it's the X factor. You know, 957 is not necessarily running away with the game, but he did get a lot of solo gold by taking first brick by himself. And now, bottom, eating up all of this experience, getting up all these free CS, and he is on the big Meganar pick, but he's also itemized that he can continue to try to punish that Swain in an elongated lane.
And look at how Xiaohu had to itemize to try to cope with that. Void Staff second for the penetration so that he makes sure if there is a fight that WE are currently looking for, I will be able to do damage to the front line. I may not be able to 100-0 the back line, but it's not about those quick bursts, those quick hits. Still 25 minutes in, 957 just going to keep absorbing wave after wave as it's a full, nearly a full item advantage for Xie. Needlessly large rod now picked up for Xiaohu as he makes his way back out. And while it is one Ocean Dragon between the two, the third Ocean Dragon is going to spawn in 70 seconds. So still, the laning phase drags on.
It's not about the monster objective timers. I mean, yes, the Baron is still very important, but again, it's more about the windows around these 80 carries. This was not a match about RNG versus WE. This is a match about Mystic and Uzi.
Yeah.
These guys have some bad blood between them. One of them has been the best ADC. One of them has now taken that crown away from him. And this is just, you know, putting it to bed. Who's really better?
I mean, we're going to find out at the end of this series, won't we? That's the dream. That's the hope. But I am just so surprised to see RNG play this different style when Uzi has been having one of the best splits of his life, and they take a different style that is not completely Uzi-centric during the laning phase, during the early game. It's more about macro. It's more about intelligent maneuvering around the map. RNG, perhaps this is them looking forward, looking beyond WE, looking at the next opponents in the bracket, Snake and Invictus Gaming, and saying, hey, we might not just be able to brute force our way through Snake or Invictus Gaming if we take this series here.
It's also giving responsibility to other members on the team.
Yeah.
Ming, it's his signature Alistair pick that he was able to grab access to. That is kind of the core of the composition, because he's going to go in first and he's going to be followed directly by Xiaohu. And you can already see those two kind of blitzing in and leading the charge like, get out of this river. There's no way that you can step forward and contest this vision. But yeah, Uzi's the guy. He's the carry, the leader. But this should all be about Ming.
That's exactly who's been caught there as he uses that big shockwave onto 3 and the cast to separate them, but there's no damage, there's no follow-up.
Just for added measure, just throw the cask in.
Yeah. Get them stacked up so I can split them back apart.
It does mean that RNG are missing 3 key ultimates, so again, now Power Dynamic will swing back to Team WE, and they should use this advantage to force into that river and clear it out, because RNG can't contest, which is why they want to try to force the waves, and they want to say, if you're going to go clear out the vision, you will lose something, whether that's EXP or gold.
Just like Malphite, you will lose. 957 is actually starting off the Baron here. They know that the cooldowns are still burned. WE going to try to burn through it. All 5 members have grouped up. Celestial is stacking up just on the bottom, but here comes Xiaohu as he steps forward. Baron's at half health. The collapse from RNG. They're coming in from 2 directions.
And look at the shockwave cooldown. It is just about to come up. This is a very risky play from Team WE. Even just looking at a possible 50-50, and RNG just sat back and they said, we don't even need to expend our teleport. Swain just casually walked from the bottom side of the map towards the Baron River.
We talked a bit about the shred of the Cassiopeia Varus. Well, they perhaps need a bit more itemization to make sure that shred happens that much faster. As the tie heads back down into the bottom lane to catch the wave, prep by 957. 28 minutes, and still the stakes are rising.
And like I was saying, is that this match was about the cooldowns in the windows around 80 carry itemization. So Xayah deciding 2.5 items to go for a defensive, having the QSS available, as opposed to completing her secondary seal item, is going to be kind of the bump or the hiccup in the road. But if anyone's going to have the extra gold laying around to quickly grab a defensive item, probably going to be Uzi.
Yeah. Of all people, not able to get a huge CS lead over Mystic in this game, but still having a strong performance, though we haven't seen him really been able to do too much so far because there has been so little actual action in terms of kills.
And excuse me, his Infinity Edge.
Ah, yes. IE now picked up, but that said, take a look at Mystic's build on the other side. Mystic might be a level down, but he's already finished off that Blade of the Ruined King. The low-cost Wit's End and the reduced cost of the Gwinsus now means that WE have a bit of a power spike for that Varus.
And still, a ton of now sustain built into his build, and a lot of threat over this Baron is still kind of Team WE's primary win condition.
Oh, but that's MLXG stepping forward. Uzi might be there to catch him. The cask and the flash is ready. Mystic just holds on, turns around and walks away when under the gaze of a 500-strong audience.
Not even trying to force the flash off of Varus.
And still they maneuver around the map, trying to open up advantages, trying to keep pace over their opponent. 957 has gotten himself behind Xiaohu. Randuin's for the slow. Shockwave dodged by Xie, but Xiaohu flashes in. It's an engage from two sides, and while Varus isn't there, it's still the advantage going to WE so far. Ming with the headbutt is able to get back under his turret. But 957 is Mega. Is he thinking of the dive? Ming steps a bit too far. Piercing arrow from Mystic pierces Ming's heart. And that's also the mid-tier 1 going down.
That's an absolute disaster. The reason...
Oh, the flash engage onto Zatai. He's got his own flash, but he's not even going to get the chance to use it.
Zatai didn't even know it hit him. He caught me off guard with that. Never mind much the top laner. That's now key members down for RNG. Yes, they still have the smite. They no longer have a blast cone. I think Team WE are going to pull the trigger on Baron.
Yeah, they're grouped up into the pit. 957 ready to zone or hop in at a moment's notice. MLXG has no vision. He's trying to take the long way around, but that's the shred we were talking about.
He doesn't even just have vision. He doesn't have Uzi. Uzi has just completely said, this is not a situation that we can contest anymore. I don't have the itemization. We don't have members. We don't have position. I'm going to take Ocean.
And this game, now the Baron has just been picked up by WE, seems so antithetical to the LPL in general. 957 starts it off.
And Xiaohu's going to catch a lot of flack for this, even though Xie played that perfectly. But we don't know. Was that Xiaohu not hearing a call or disregarding a call about where 957 was? Or was that Zatai not communicating cross-map that Gnar was going to have the flank there? Because obviously caught off guard, and it wasn't just Xiaohu being caught off guard. This then quick snatch and grab of Swain, like that's the real difference maker. If Swain was still alive, they maybe would have had enough to force them off the Baron, but with Swain also dying, that was the nail in the coffin.
And now WE with the Baron buff for 3 minutes. They've still got teleport on 957. They've got the opportunity to play that 1-4 composition. Rabadon's finished by both mid laners, as Runon's is now finished off by Mystic. Slowly this gold lead is starting to balloon. And as I was saying, Indiana, this play style from these two teams doesn't look like the LPL. If you turned off the tags and the titles, it almost feels like an LCK game.
I wouldn't go that far, but I can understand what you're saying. It is a bit of a different pace for us. But I will say it's much closer and aligned with Team WE, and that's the primary problem that I see with this game.
Yes.
We came in, the desk said it, I'm aligned with the desk. I feel like this is much more a weighted series towards RNG, not just in the score line, but in just how these two teams have been performing. RNG came in game number 1, and they decided to try to play WE style, and WE showcasing why they still made it to playoffs without Condi and Bin. They are still terrifyingly good at this style.
Taking it slow, playing the team fights, looking for openings to strike and strike fast.
And playing front to back. It was technically a flank that caught them those picks, but this composition, their itemization, it's pretty clear. They just want to group everyone, put their tank line in front of them, set the line of scrimmage, and then just slowly roll over RNG like a tank.
That's exactly what we see. MLXG is trying to be the bastion that stops the bulldozer of Team WE, but he can only do so much with that one cask, though he is on the side of Team WE now. Xie steps up, and that's the Miasma. Now they finally spot the Gragas, and the push begins proper for WE. Mystic starts firing across on the turret, and Uzi is forced to back away. This is now the second tier 2 to go down for Team RNG.
And they've got their waves actually set up in either side lane, so they can quickly rotate and continue this siege. Makes most sense to go top, of course, because the last standing outer is probably the easiest objective to get behind and contest.
Recall means items first, turrets second. Xie gets blue buff as he's now pinging up towards that top wave, and RNG have to know this is coming. How on earth can they defend against this?
It's going to be about that wombo combo. We talked about it earlier, and we're going to say it repeatedly because that's really the core of their composition. All eyes are on Ming and Xiaohu and how they can land that pivotal shockwave. Check out Xiaohu's itemization. If it hits, it's going to hurt.
4 full items for Xie to the 3 of Xiaohu, and while he will do damage, will he be able to match that of the Cassiopeia? It might only be a 23 CS advantage, but that neutral gold from WE is just pushing WE up.
But I want to expand on my statement, because it's not just about hitting anyone. He has to hit that backline. We have Adaptive Helm, Abyssal Mass already built up on the Cassiopeia as well as the Gnar. So again, it's not just the zone control, it's hitting that immobile Varus.
Ooh, Cask and the never move, but Xie, even without a flash, get blocked against the wall. MLXG looking very hopeful with that and not finding anything. Zatai is able to step forward and zone WE back until the Baron wears off, but this is still a 1-4 split for WE. 957 is working in the mid lane.
And it's going to continue to be because 957 has Mega Gnar involved right now, so Unfortunately, he can't immediately look for a team fight up into the top side. Should be a couple more waves while he tries to stack that back up if they want to look for a possible dive.
Now it's Magic's turn to sweep out Vision and look for a pick of his own as that cask is about halfway to the cooldown. The siege continues, just keeping RNG stacked in this turret and denying the ability for Uzi to start getting that massive gold. Just forcing RNG to split that gold between both Uzi, Xiaohu, and Zatai all in the same lane. Finally, the swap has been called. Zatai shows up bottom, and immediately 957 just groups up with his team.
Because that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for 957 to have the Mega Gnar back available. So you can see his Rage bar. That's the go button. This is why we've been sitting up here being patient. The fact that the Baron has worn off and Team W are still here tells me that they really do want to force this team fight.
And 957, he's actually spotting out Ming just by that red buff, making sure that he knows there's not going to be any Alistar Hex flashes or flash engages from behind. Ticks over to Mega doing the Raptor camp.
They just need to go home. There's no reason to continue to extend forward. In fact, the Gragas cask is back up, so now the option is that RNG can just reverse this and look for a counter engage. Elder Dragon is spawning in 1 minute. Team WE, you don't have Baron buff. You don't have your Mega Gnar. Your waves are, yes, crashing, but you need to actually back and start setting up for that Elder.
And it's not just one wave, it's all 3 waves crashing in at the same time. 957 escorts mid. The large minion wave bottom is caught by Zatai. Here's the window. Here's the timing, but Magic is by the red buff with Celestial. Those are the big engage members. And yes, you've swept out the vision. You know that the area is clear, but the window is there, and you missed it. Still, RNG defend their turret. It's been chipped down to about half.
This has been a 4-minute siege.
It has. This is what sieges are supposed to be. You bring the whole army, you set up the supply line, deny the resources of RNG. And while it hasn't been able to yield too many results for WE, it seems like they've finally given up to complete that recall. QSS picked up for Mystic on his way back. Warmogs and Locket finished for Magic.
And now the play comes back. So we're setting up for the Elder. Team WE do have tempo advantage into reaching it. So now it's a very precarious situation for RNG. They have to walk into small choke points, into dark vision. Luckily, they do have a single control ward that's been sitting on the Dragon Pit for God knows how long.
Providing quite a bit of value for RNG. Ming is able to sneak down behind them. That
They
tier
didn't
1
see him?
is still there. There are pings now onto the front of the pit. Ming is still holding on.
That's the X factor. Ming, don't be patient.
They're all stacked up. They're all stacked
He's
up.
going in.
Xiaohu is there. The flash from Mystic. He gets out. The target is Magic, but that means Flash is still ready. Glacial Storm forces Xiaohu away, and Ming goes low and dies. The support traded and knocked in. 957 teleports to chase Xiaohu out of the fight as Magic. Tanking in the front. Zatai goes golden in the Ascension, but it's not enough. Mystic is low, but he's still alive. Uzi has still been free-firing. Finally, he's caught up to by Xie, taking damage in the poison. The chase and the double kill. Xie has slain the Mad Dog, but has he put him to bed? It's 7-1 WE.
And that was the one X factor that RNG had, managing to get Ming behind enemy lines to try to set up an engagement like there, finds the wrong target, hits the Sejuani, nothing comes of it, a complete whitewash of a team fight, and a free Elder. That's now both epic monster objectives to Team WE.
And we call WE the Elder Dragon team for a good reason. Their team fights in that specific area of the map when the Elder Dragon spawns around the 35 minutes are so terrifying. They're turning onto the Baron, and MLXG, he's got a smite but no flash. And with Xie stepping up at level 18, there's no chance MLXG can contest this. But he might be trying to prove me wrong as 957 is even body blocking there.
All the way over with the blast cone.
Yeah.
MLXG is
Send him all the way home.
Exactly, all the way back to his inner turret top side. So free Baron, free Elder, and another free siege from Team WE. Probably gonna last another 7 minutes.
Yeah, just keep on playing it out. Ming from behind, but missed it.
Flashing the W animation right there to get on the other side. Couldn't find the right target. I feel like Ming should have been a bit more patient there, waiting until at least Xiaohu was closer to try to punish something, but they get a little bit antsy, they pull the trigger a little bit too quickly, and they lose their key engage options. And again, if you're trying to fight this composition from Team WE front to back, you've already lost.
And that was Uzi trying to step up, do the damage that his team needed him to do. 430 CS, 3.5, nearly 4 items if you consider the 2 half items. But you cannot step up against the miasma that Xie locks down in both his engage and escape path. And like you said, that Baron is ticking away for a good 2.5 minutes. The tier 2 is still standing up top. How do WE set up their waves to break the base this time?
And how do RNG set up a comeback? And it's to set up a death brush. They understand that their win condition is solely on hitting these key ultimates on key members of Team WE and immediately deleting someone before the team fight. So while yes, Team WE have had control for 99% of this game, if they continue to stall out late enough, and there is an abundance of wave clear between Xayah and Orianna, as well as Swain on RNG's comp, if it just goes to a coin flip 50-50, RNG could theoretically still win the game.
Ah, yes. The old Aime strategy. Against Team WE.
It's a favorite.
Yes. It's a bold move, Cotton. A bold strategy, to say the least. We'll see how it plays out, though. As again, the next wave is retrieved. Bottom lane is pushing for Team WE, slowly stacking up. That'll hit in about 30 seconds to a minute. And eventually someone's going to have to deal with that. Ming, he's behind them again, though. But the Siege still just battering down on this inhibitor turret. WE taking it nice and slow. That's the quickness, never mind. He steps forward, the cask is going to get Magic and Mystic forward. The turret's finally broken. Ming is in the back, but Celestial is already engaged in the front. Never move on to Mystic. He's low, but Locket keeps him healthy. 957 hops over the wall, and still WE don't overextend. Their playoff lives are on the line in this series. They want to close it out cleanly.
And no one would have expected this type of front to come from Team WE. Yes, we know that 957 is known for his playoff buff, but Mystic has been very inconsistent in Magic and Celestial. This is their first time on such a large stage. So not showing a ton of nerves here, standing in line, and maybe just speaks to the strength of Team WE's spine of having those core 3 members together.
And we heard on the desk the will WE take a late game team fight? Well, if RNG just give it to them, it turns out that yes, they will.
Even at this point, they don't even need to fight. Like you said, they're just playing it very clean. They came for the objective, they got the objective, and they disengage. And there's not a lot of options on RNG's composition to force them to fight, which is why, again, Ming is so important. When he's looking for these flanking plays, as you could see, he's slipped up onto that top brush, and he doesn't find them. That's all they have, because they have a Gragas.
Ooh, that's a Shockwave. Mystic in the wrong position has been knocked forward, but he's still alive and firing across. Shie body blocking for his AD carry as 957 on the side zones Zuzi from entering.
Tried to find the Varus, immediately reset his position, couldn't break him, and now they are fighting one team member down and a lot of key ultimates missing. This should just be the inhib. If RNG choose to plant their feet and fight there, they die and lose the game.
And Mystic didn't flash or heal. He just held on to his summoners during that engage. That means with one man down, WE not only take the inhib, but also set up for the next. They are controlling the map, pushing minion waves mid with those supers, controlling waves on both bottom and top. And the next Elder Dragon is the one that's going to last for 5 full minutes. It's going to be spawning soon, and if WE continue to just take their time with this, RNG, yes, they might have a strong late game, but they cannot compete with those neutral objectives.
And reminder, majority of the time when WE and RNG face each other, it does go to full 5 games. There's only been one instance that it was a 3-0, and that was when Team WE lifted the LPL Champions Cup.
Might get a chance to see something similar here as WE try to 3-0 RNG in this series. They have to start with this game 1, just playing it nice and slow, taking every single objective. And we are nearly at 6 items for that Cassiopeia. Teleport to get Celestial back in. 957 is building up to Mega.
Unsealed Spellbook.
And the waves just keep on crashing. This siege is even more dangerous because the turret top is a tier 2. That's going to break so much easier than that inhibitor.
Still dealing with abundance of wave clear, however, so it's not super punishing for Ori to use her mobility, quickly cruise over to the mid lane.
Yeah, but we've seen the strategy once. Our WE just set up the slow siege, take their time, lock RNG into their base, starve them out, wait for the neutral objectives to spawn, then go and take them.
Still very dangerous to do against RNG. Probably the best team at making their waves all crash together. So this is a very practiced Team WE 5v5 style, but this is Team WE playing or closing out a game in a very practiced RNG style. Both these players and these teams go way back. They face each other 5 times now over the course of 4 splits.
And again, this is the 4th time that they've met in playoffs. WE just bringing wave after wave. Super minions now pushing in mid lane, getting closer and closer to the Nexus turrets. MLXG is forced to pull back, and already the OMW ping from Celestial. On my way. He's still got that Zeke's convergence, holding on to the quickness, grand entrance, and flash. They now see Zatai on the other side.
And no one engages. And 957 had access to Meganar, so seeing that Swain was topside, losing that surprise, there they go.
That's the engage. Ming with the knockback, but Shockwave from Xiao, who misses as he's Glacial Storm. Celestial backing away, Magic tanking in the front. Ming is low, and still no one has died. 957 drops into Mini. And the fight disengages. Whew, I'm holding my breath.
This has been one of the weirdest LPL games I think I've ever seen. We are normally a very fast, very bloody region. I cannot believe that Team WE has bent RNG to their will, and that Uzi is possibly starting out his series. Like, you have to think of the momentum. That 0-1, RNG were gifted that point. They ride the momentum of a very consistent, a very dominant, regular split to have this advantage, and it looks like Team WE are on the cusp of evening that up. And then you have to think about that little voice in Uzi's head. Am I being undone again?
The not-so-little voice at this point. The uncrowned king of WE, the crownless king himself. Elder Dragon is up in 10 seconds, but Baron has already spawned. Those two neutral objectives happen to sync up. And as a result, RNG, aware of this, find themselves now pushing in the mid lanes. Zatai hits the never move onto 2. And Visions of Empire lets him see his targets. But Elder Dragon seems to be on the docket for MLXG. He's sitting just outside of this vision. Come on, WE. Take the bait.
There's no reason for them to go over there. They would much rather have the Baron than the Elder, and it looks like we will have a trade for both epic monsters.
And to follow up on what you said, Indiana, this is WE bending RNG to their will, but also it's RNG bending after an incredibly dominant second half of the split with Uzi's return after the new year. This is them playing a completely different style and looking like they can't keep up with WE.
At this late in the game is, I guess we're just taking a look at a replay about a disengage is what this felt like. Hard engage into disengage, into everyone blows their cooldowns, and then we all just calmly walk away from each other.
But again, RNG actually bending to the will of WE is a bit scary.
Ah, right. So at this, sorry.
Lost train of thought.
I was like, I guess we're going to show this replay. I'm all aboard for it. The fact that this late in the game, RNG's comms were just going to be stall it out. Wait, look for the team fight. They understand what their win conditions are, so while it does look that RNG are just being bled out by Team WE, the circumstance is if they want to win the game, this is exactly what they have to do, and you can see that they're very calm and measured about it. Team WE have now been gifted 2 Barons and an Elder and unable to close, and RNG are still proactively hunting, looking for those flanks. So I don't want the viewers to be looking at this 47-minute game and be like, Team WE got this in the bag, because RNG are still very controlled about understanding exactly where and when they need to make that punch.
So perhaps not bending, but like the Willow, flexible, allowing themselves to match WE here. And remember, that tier 1 is paper thin. It's just an emotional defense at this point, this late in the game. Ming can happily dive that.
Drawing it out, looking for the picks. So for RNG, MLXG and Ming need to find a valuable target. Either Xie needs to be knocked out of position or Mystic needs to be knocked out of position. If they survive the initial burst of the Wombo combo, Team W will just walk through RNG with the overtime sustained damage from Varus and Cassiopeia.
And as we approach the 50-minute mark, still no massive fights outside of the one at Elder Dragon and the one prior just before it, which WE have already shown they're both successful with. 6 items picked up on most members of these teams. Even the supports are getting close to it.
That's how you know it's a bad time. When the supports are running around at 6 items, you're like, I need to sell an item so I can have space for control boards.
Ming is still sitting on 3 minion dematerializers on the off chance that WE decide to look for the bannered cannon minion.
Ming has been splinter selling his way into this backline.
The Shockwave, Celestial, way out of position with Magic. The 2 newcomers from WE die. Mystic flashes back. Now it's the 3 veterans single-handedly taking on RNG. But Mystic gets pulled in, and he cannot stand his ground. He's actually healing. Mystic is still alive, finally dies, as he will trade his life for Uzi's, though, and Xie and 957 zone RNG back.
Uzi dies with his flash up, was not expecting Mystic to be able to sit there, plant his feet, and be that tanky, really. Between the Wits In, between the Blade of the Rune King. That was ridiculous damage.
And that's the rookies making the mistake for WE, getting caught out of position. And that will definitely slow the momentum for Team WE just a bit.
But you can already see how much of a knife's edge this game still is. You step out of position for a split second and RNG can punish you this late in the game. We are literally going to have a game where it's going to come to a 50-50 team fight and one team is just going to run it down mid lane.
Oh, wow. 957 gets the stun onto Uzi, which gives Mystic enough time to free fire and finish him off while being killed.
Twice that 957 has made hero miracle plays. We're just going to combine the word.
Miracle, yeah.
Hiracle,
Hercules.
On the Gnar. He had it the last series that he managed to get that champion, finding a quick turnaround when Celestial decided to hand deliver Mystic into the enemy team backline as Tom Kinch, and then finds it there again to punish Uzi. Not able to find his flash. CC locked against the wall.
And look at these Gathering Storm stats. 120 AP, 72 AD.
And we don't normally reach this late game in the LPL. So think of how long that graphic has just been sitting in the in the back room. Like
somebody prepared this week 1 of the LPL.
We're going to be able to talk about Gathering Storm, just all of the bonuses it's going to give you. And then every game ends at 33 minutes, and now we're looking at 51 minutes on the clock.
And all of these teams are grouped up still. Elder Dragon going to be spawning a little bit later than the Baron this time, as those neutrals won't be synced quite yet.
We've got the new item.
Shirelius is back.
It's back. So obviously it's a go item. Alistar, that's what he's been trying to do all game. Again, attempting another flank, has the Reverie now, so he can get into that back line. It's plus 40% movement speed.
Now, the longest game in the LPL Spring Split was 67 minutes and about 54 seconds. That was Suning versus Snake in Chongqing. So only about 18 minutes away, Frost.
We're going the distance.
We just might be.
But why this actually matters is player mentality. And because Uzi is on the field, yes, he is such a veteran, but in recently sitting down and speaking with Uzi, the interview, of course, aired before this game, he is aware that his emotions do cloud him. He, to this day, still gets that haze, that tilt. And his #1 problem that he needs to overcome from Uzi's words are those emotions. So if you have a 67-minute game and you lose, when you had an advantage into a series, you can disrupt Uzi.
But will that be WE's plan in this? Or will RNG actually be able to ride that knife's edge and pull WE back over towards their side of things? This is just a constant tug of war in the mid lane. Baron is up in 1 minute. Elder Dragon shortly thereafter. Both of the teams had the prior Elder, so huge onus on these teams to control it. Ming is actually splitting up WE as RNG push up into the mid lane onto the inhibitor. 957 tries to hold ground, but Xie is way out of position. The flash engage to look for 957. But he just holds on. Here's Celestial from behind. They're all stacked up. The inhib turret is down. Mystic has got Xie to hold him in place. Ming breaks free, and that's going to be the Chains of Corruption. Ming still holding the line. Command attacked his own away. MLXG goes forward, and he's knocked right back out. 957 still looking for the window. Shockwave has finally found Celestial, but it's MLXG who has died. Uzi is backing away. He cannot find an opening. 2 kills, WE.
And the fact that it's a viable target that Team WE can actually just melt through RNG's tank line. They managed to find both Alistar and Gragas with the big heavy points of CC, lock them down, melt them, and then without the zoning front line, Xiaohu and Uzi just had to back up.
And not only is the Baron spawning, it's 60 seconds for that Elder, and look at the death timers for MLXG and Zatai. He is going to have to book it across the map if he wants to make it to that neutral objective.
Third back-to-back Barons claimed from Team WE over the course of a 53-minute slugfest between these teams.
And it's not actually WE going down to look for the Elder Dragon. They're actually going top. They've already prepped that inhibitor turret to be quite low, as 957 actually teleported mid. WE, they might even try to ignore the Elder, or at least set up the inhibs so that they can take it later.
If RNG make a mistake here and decide to try to hold the inhib, then they will just end the game. They could have actually tried to force it, though. Magic has his ultimate back up, and he sees 3 members mid.
957 is actually caught out. The Guardian Angel has been popped. Here comes Magic. They're coming to 957's rescue. Ming in the front. The knockup. 957 still alive. He's burning from the Ignite and will finally die. But Uzi backs it up. He gets the Blade Caller. He's doing so much damage. That's 1. That's 2. It's nearly 3 as Mystic is healing up. Teleport. They step onto each other and go head-to-head. The triple kill. Now it's mid versus mid. Visions of Empire to zone Xie. Xiaohu is chasing thinking, and MLXG will hound him down. Xie, can you outplay this? He doesn't have the ultimate. He's just got raw damage. Random for the slow, and he sidesteps the cast. He's still going, but finally dies. RNG turn towards that Elder.
If they lose the game, it's that team fight, that decision-making right there. They had the opportunity, Baroned up on a top inhib. They decided they wanted to kill RNG and try to end the game. They rotate mid, and they are punished for it. Uzi stepping up massive there for his team.
And they're not even going for the Elder Dragon. Look at the death timers. 30 seconds and the minion wave is on its way. Zatai has got the damage. Xiaohu has got the damage. He immediately clears out the wave. 20 seconds left on the death timers. It's going to be close, Indiana, as Xiaohu just keeps on firing.
It's over. It's done.
Key after key. And it will break down onto the Nexus. 10 seconds on the death timer, and RNG at a deficit for the entire game win a single team fight off the back of Uzi and are now on match point.
The question of the desk was, will Team WE get that miracle team fight, an absurd win rate if a game goes over 40 minutes? And RNG stands strong around Uzi, and it's him who gets the last laugh. The fact that he dies simultaneously with Mystic, just some salt in the wound. I cannot believe Team WE threw like that.
Life happily traded. Uzi knows his value, knows his worth to his team, and knows what he has to do in that moment, and he absolutely hits the bar.
This is my #1 complaint with Uzi, that in big pressure situations, he doesn't step up. Yes, you can show up on an international stage, but domestically, he has been entirely absent. That is Uzi in round 1, day 1 of playoffs, stepping up and finally being a hard carry for his team.
And look at that gold graph. RNG were a grand total of 204 gold ahead of WE, while the early game might have been slow for 18, 19 minutes.
They just won a game with a gold deficit.
Yeah, WE controlled everything. They controlled the fights, they controlled the neutral objectives, they controlled the entire map, but they could not control the Mad Dog.
Just a split-second bad call from WE. Again, Baroned up, they had the crashing wave, they could have taken free inhibs, they saw that RNG were pressured forward, they tried to make the pick, and if they had gotten those kills, they would have ended the game. So Uzi standing strong, working with his team, working with his tank line and Xiaohu, and stopping that, that's what won them the game.
And we're seeing WE with both their veterans and their rookies starting to get this playoff buff. They're starting to turn online, but if they want to advance to the next stage, they now have to reverse sweep against RNG. It's going to be quite a challenge, but if any team is up for it, it's got to be WE.
And it's a devastating, momentum-draining loss there. For Team WE to already be a point down and then to lose like that, I don't know if they have the veteranship between this squad to come back.
Well, we're going to have to find out if they do. Now it's time for our analysts to break down how exactly that game 1 went down.
Thanks, Dom. And the casters are absolutely right. Now RNG are at match point just after the first game in this best of 5 series.
Yeah, 2-0 to go 2-0 after a game like that is devastating for Team WE because it's not just a game 1 loss. You can't go backstage and be like, all right, boys, it's all good. We've got one more game in the bag anyway. We can afford to... You can't.
It's
you
not
cannot
all good.
afford a thing.
It's not all good. I'm pissed off.
Why are you pissed off, Raz?
Give me that pen.
Okay. My pen's gone now.
Yeah, it's gone. You know why I'm pissed off?
Why are you pissed off,
WE had a 10k gold advantage, and they decided that, you know what, look at the composition of RNG. They have Orianna full wave clear. They have the Swain to just kind of double tier as well, and the shield from the Locket of the Arn Solari. They were not going to get died. In fact, the Mega Gnar timing was so poor that every single time the wave hit the tower, he was in Mini Gnar. Why isn't he in a side lane? Why isn't he mid lane shepherding the wave? Why isn't he top lane when his entire bottom team, or at least his entire 4-man squad is in the bottom lane? Why are they trying to full team try and bulldoze a turret? That's why the game was long. The game should have been incredibly quick, but they decided that they were just going to stay together.
Yeah. They consciously chose to group up as 5, as if they were almost afraid of RNG's team fighting when RNG were 10k gold behind. The teleport, like, there were so many moments where you're like, well, if they teleported here, they could actually utilize the teleport advantage, bring Zatai down to the bottom lane and make the play, but they just stagnated.
Well, let's go into how WE lost control of that game later on. And first take a look at how they actually gained control to start, because it started with a 9-5-7 flank in the mid lane against Xiaohu, which actually opened up the game for Team WE to get such a massive lead.
Yeah, this was strong for WE just because Xie was playing out of his mind in the mid lane. That outplay happened, 9-5-7 set it up as well, so all of this worked out because the advantage WE had from the outright compositional victory led in towards this teamfight victory. And RNG playing a little bit greedy, trying to protect more members under their tower, there's no reason for Swain to be here. So it felt like once WE was able to take one kill, they went for the next, and they went for the next because RNG was just straight wandering.
And you may be looking at perhaps getting caught out of position in the mid lane there, Xiaohu, to kick that fight off. It's like, why was he there in the first place? And from what you could see, it was almost like he was trying to route Xie towards his team and to threaten the Shockwave and maybe force him towards the Gragas who was trying to come in. But they all end up losing in that fight as a result. And the thing that you have to take a step further back as well, why were WE able to get these leads in the first place? And the draft was actually a bigger deal. We looked past the draft, WE, they lost the game in the end, but they picked Rakan first. They actually picked the Rakan in the Xayah-Rakan duo as a priority. And I think that was actually taunting Uzi in a way. I actually feel like it's saying, you know what, Uzi? Play the Xayah. I dare you. This is my best champion as Mystic right now, and I have the Varus anyway.
So what did you think of Uzi's performance on Xayah? Because we said it before, it's a champion he looks very comfortable, and it's not a champion he's picked many times. And if this was a strategy from Team W to force him on Xayah, what did you think of his play on the champion?
I think mechanically within the lane, it wasn't very hot. There were a lot of points where they missed out in kills because he hadn't set up the feathers for the setup in ganks that they had played for him. But it was a difficult task because RNG's composition as a whole was pretty poor. They had double-tier solo laners, so there was not going to be pressure from there. We had a Gragas in the jungle that was not going to have pressure. In fact, ever since in the 5-minute mark when he found himself taking a really poor trade in the Raptors area, Magic just had full rough shot of his own jungle. So they were in a moment where RNG was full scaling and they had no way to stop the pressure from Magic. So that's why WE from the level 1, just from the composition standpoint, were far ahead.
They hovered, they protected, they tried to keep Uzi at least equal as well, and all of this resources towards keeping him even didn't do anything for the map control where Magic was able to run rampant. And you saw that reflected through 957s being unlocked, having CS advantages. Mid lane as well, doing quite well for himself, and RNG just fully conceded that they were going to scale. They were going to want 100% go to scaling, and Uzi Xayah specifically was pretty average. He wasn't an exceptional Xayah player. He's new to the champion. I don't expect him to be good at it yet.
And we saw, like you said, that Magic as well as Celestial were unlocked in that match, playing similar to what you previously saw from Ben as well as Conley when they played for Team W. It started to look good for them to find that form moving into playoffs. But they also made the crucial mistake for Team W. They got caught out about 45 minutes into the match, and this allowed RNG to start their comeback.
Yep, so this is the problem when you get to the 40 to 50 minute mark, and sure you have an 11K gold lead, but it just, that one misstep and you sacrifice yourself. Why is two of them there? That's my major question. And if you look at the minimap, the wave is so far down that they're not looking towards the bottom lane at all. So they're essentially back at it in the top side of the map, hoping to just group up. And that's why the game was stalling out so much, to the point where Orianna had Rabadon's death cap. She had 4 to 5 items for herself. She was full build later on. It was just so easy for RNG, once their composition went online, to just wait for that ulti from Ori.
And I know during the game, Rusty, you were saying that it was RNG that were making the smart decisions. Baron and Elder Dragon were available. WE tried to go towards Baron, and RNG decided to deny them that second Elder. Why was this such a big play for them?
I mean, it's just because they want to keep the game going for as long as they can. I don't think they're afraid of giving a Baron buff to Team WE, who seem to be super afraid of sieging in the first place. You get the Elder Dragon, firstly you deny the second Elder Dragon, and you also have team fighting prowess, which is with a scaling composition that shouldn't be getting dove regardless. It's too hard to dive, like you mentioned earlier, Raz, all of the shields that are available. How are you going to get to that backline? Xayah's got the ultimate as well. There's no real access to that backline without like a flash from a Gnar and trying to knock them all towards his team, and that ultimately is never going to be able to happen. And that's where you have to come back to the why didn't WE put someone in a side lane? Why'd they not actually avoid the 5v5 and let Swain be there? Make it 4v4.
Yeah, and on top of that point, just the fact that I think I want to give praise to MLXG just a little bit, because even though he hit his level, or at least his minute 5 mistakes, on the Gragas, you're not going to be able to dive a Gragas with the ulti, and every single time Gnar did find himself engaging, of course, immediately uses his cast to get the disengage off. So it was very difficult for WE to find those fights.
And it got to the point where Gathering Storms were starting to take effect for the two teams. We know that Mystic was running Gathering Storm as one of his runes. Uzi was not. And it was RNG in the final team fight at a deficit in terms of numbers. You got a crucial pick onto 957 and capitalized into a late game team fight that won them the match.
And the thing with WE here is that 957 starts out of position. They could choose to keep pushing top lane. They could choose to try and threaten the Nexus and perhaps reroute RNG to coming and preventing that and defending. They choose to team fight, and they actually choose to bottleneck themselves into a choke point against an Orianna who's got high burst, and Uzi who had the feathers stocked up from hitting 957 for a long time.
Yep, look at Orianna's positioning, look at Uzi's positioning. At the very least, even though he wasn't able to survive himself, he was able to get the crucial kill on the AD carry and survive or at least protect Xiaohu for the later fight here.
And they continued chasing down Seer, and Malakshi was able to revive, had his Guardian Angel available this entire time. Zatai knows that his job is to start pushing mid and get ready for a game-winning victory. If they can secure this kill, which they do, and I just say, you know what, we don't need Elder, we don't need Baron, we're just going to run 3 members down mid lane and win this game.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen some really good plays out of Xie the entire game. He really had to put out 5 outplays to get out of that 2v1. It wasn't going to happen, so RNG was already planning for the finish.
But looking across from him in the mid lane, it was Xiaohu that picked up MVP for game number 1. Had a couple of misplays on his Orianna, but during the late game team fights, he came out clutch.
And the only reason that he was misplaying is because he was constantly pressured. There was no world where Xiaohu had an easy game. People were running at him, jumping at him, constantly Rakan engages, Nar zoning, and he still manages to get the shockwave off when it matters most. I think Xiaohu, in such a tough spot, still had a strong game.
Yep. Constantly under pressure, as you said. So the fact that he was able to find that form, I would say the most valuable fact for him was the fact that he was able to get the wave clear time and time again and play defensively. And when they were having that team fight on the bottom lane, sure, he got iced out by Sejuani, but he was able to flash to protection, so I thought he was on game defensively.
Yeah. So gentlemen, now it's at match point. RNG are 2-0. Final thoughts before we go into the third match.
Oh,
second
it's going to be rough.
Sorry.
It's going to be rough.
Yep, I think WE are tilted.
Definitely.
Well, hopefully WE aren't too tilted because they still have a reverse sweep to try and run here to make themselves into the next stage of playoffs. We're going to go to a very quick break, back with game number 2 in just a bit.
我们季后赛可能会打 WE 的话，第一次打第3的话，可能会我们有1-0领先吧。但这样的话，我觉得也有可能会让我们太放松吧。所以我们自己还是要把这1-0想成还是0-0开局的吧。所以打他们的话，每条线的话，他们个人实力也很好嘛。然后我们去年也跟他们打过很多，现在状态的话，他们也在提升嘛。所以打他们的话，应该也是蛮不好打的吧。
And that was Ming definitely saying, hey, we've got to come into this set imagining that we're 0-0 with WE. Game 1, that's exactly what we saw. They did not take any chances, any aggression, any cheese, any chance for WE to try to get back into it. And while the style was a bit uncommon for them, it ended up working out.
Yeah, but just by the skin of their teeth, and more so off of the back of colossal mistakes from Team WE. Yes, Team WE have kind of been wounded and are limping into playoffs, you know, just barely scraping in, but we definitely expect better team coordination from WE than what we saw in game number 1. Just to echo the analyst desk, that wave management and that timing between the Mega Gnar and the rest of the sieging squad was pretty atrocious. They definitely need to tighten it up if we're going to go anywhere near 5 games this series.
Especially if they need to try to bring down RNG, who are looking to be in top form. It was a slow, measured pace from them in game 1, and while the eyes of WE and their coach might be downtrodden as they make their way on stage, look at RNG. Their eyes are forward. They are looking at this next match. They are looking at their opponent as merely one more step between them and the inevitable LPL title that Uzi desires so greatly.
I would like to see some mix-up from RNG, though, not just in their player substitution, because it is Let Me that's coming in over Zatai, but also in their compositions and how they're going to execute the map. Again, if this is your first time tuning into the LPL, that was not indicative of RNG. Personally, I have them as the true contenders to Invictus Gaming if they make it that deep into their playoff run, and it's based around their very quick tempo, heavy skirmish, 1-3-1 style. Not this 57-minute sleeping behind the wheel, looking for the coin flip.
55 minutes, to be fair, but MLXG will still be staying in for this game, and we already talked about a bit of a style mismatch between Magic and MLXG. While the Gragas didn't have a huge impact in that game 1, he's still the kind of guy who wants to skirmish and fight the enemy jungler, which Magic has struggled with over the past few weeks.
It's 8.6. When I saw that MLXG was on the starting roster, I was like, I'm going to get some Nocturne.
Yeah.
I've prepared all of my notes. I'm very excited for the Leona Nocturne RNG composition, and instead I get Gragas. And I understand, you know, it makes sense from a coaching perspective that it denies the dive potential, that it's able to reset those team fights to try to isolate a lot of the compositions that Team WE like to play. Please don't play Gragas again.
Especially when you've got so many strong solo carries on your team. You can set them up to win with just a little bit more crowd control instead of repositioning with that cask, but we'll see what it's going to be in this next draft, because RNG with side selection in this game 2 have selected red side. So again, perhaps saving that counter pick for Xiaohu, knowing that Xie is the guy that you have to really worry about from WE if there's anyone.
I mean, red side dominated the global playoff scene, especially in the European LCS, so shouldn't be too different here in the LPL. Just the ability to establish strong lanes by utilizing the counter pick on both secondary ban phase and initial ban phase is too powerful, especially for a team like RNG who have so many strong laners.
Well, we've entered now into that pick and ban. We'll see what those counter picks are going to be, because WE looks like this time they're not getting that Rakan that they prioritized so early for Celestial in that game 1. So already we're going to have to see something different from WE, and it's the I was about to say Zatai ban, the Swain ban away from Let Me and Xiaohu.
Yep, shared champion pool. Again, the more specific differences between Let Me and Zatai really come down to play style and less about champion gates. Kai'Sa again.
Again, the Kai'Sa ban.
I mean, it makes sense. I don't blame them. I agree. She's very powerful. Should be noted that we're on patch 8.6, and this is hot fixed Kai'Sa.
Yes. 63 base attack damage and the increased mana cost on Acacian Rain, but still just as high ratios as ever. The panicked expression on Frosk's face when she saw the Kog'Maw hover. Instead, it's actually the Tahm Kench picked up right away for Team WE, so opening up the possibility for perhaps another late game carry like Varus or Kog'Maw.
I mean, you might as well flash the Kog'Maw. This sounds like this is going to be a Galio Kench Jarvan hyper carry combo coming out of Team WE, one of their most practiced compositions. Said in interviews earlier that they were hoping to bring more compositions, more styles to this match against Royal Never Give Up.
Well, Karma is now the first pick for RNG. That can be flexed between both Xiaohu and Ming. They both played it, but
it's because it's a read on Team WE. So if they see the Kench, you saw the flash of Kog'Maw, you know what Team WE like to play. Karma actually has a really decent matchup into Galio, and you're also taking away one of those other versatile options for running a hyper carry composition. And there's the Trundle. So it's again saying, if you pick the Jarvan, I am going to punish you.
Already RNG trying to put dampers on WE's desired team composition. We'll see how WE change up, seeing these two. Azir is currently the hover by Magic, but as the timer runs out, it's actually going to be locked in Chie saying, let me carry, let me bear the burden of my team. And Caitlyn will be locked in for Mystic as well.
Caitlyn, Uzi, as he is synonymous with Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Uzi and Magic, Mystic, wow, cannot read today. Mystic and Uzi have the highest win rate on Caitlyn. Got there. We eventually landed there.
That's it.
And the average for the split is around 50%. That makes sense for most champions when you spread out their win rate. But for Uzi and Mystic in particular, it is over 70% for both of them.
Spectacular win rates on the champions. Of course, that means Uzi well prepared to play into that matchup. He takes Varus to look across from that champion of the Guinsoo's power spike, still just as strong as ever.
And yes, Varus does usually get the better of the matchup here. Caitlyn needs to extend more for auto attacks to meet the trade, whereas Varus is just going to spell fling, so he can very quickly out-trade her and then disengage. He can also compete with a lot of her wave clear.
So the thing that's interesting about this phase right now is we still don't know where the karma is going between Xiaohu and Ming, whereas Team WE, it's very clear who's still open. Magic and 957. It seems as though WE are going to try to limit down Ming a little bit more, perhaps looking to exploit that bottom lane, exploit Uzi, of all people.
I also do expect that it is going to be Xiaohu taking the karma in the mid lane more so than Ming, so I actually really agree with Team WE trying to whittle away the hard engaged champions from the bot side. I'd like to see them pay respect to something like an Alistar.
That does mean that top lane has yet to be picked by both top laners, so Gangplank banned away from 957. He's still got that Gnar open. And for the final ban of Team WE, what could be the last ban of the 2018 LPL spring season against RNG. How do they try to balance this out?
Before we focus fire into Team WE's last ban, which is going to be the Scion, I do want to focus on RNG's ban, taking away the Camille. 957 has this reputation that he sometimes picks up champions in scrims and suddenly they're just perma-banned competitively, even though you never get to see them on stage. It happened with his Kled. He finally got the Kled at MSI, but before he made such a statement on the champion on that stage, he had never gotten to play it in the LPL, which is perma-banned away. We have seen his Camille, and it's been pretty average, very hit and miss, and so I think it's very interesting that RNG are extending these bans like Camille towards 957, unless he's decided to pick it back up in scrims and has changed opinions on that.
We'll see if we get the chance to see that Camille later on. We'll reevaluate the series, but Frost, we've got an Ornn locked in for Let Me, so counterpick will go to 957, and that does mean the final pick for WE will be their jungle to round out their composition, as that was pared down slightly with that Camille being taken away if Magic were so inclined to play the champion, but it's actually with Smiles on Mystic and Celestial that they lock in what could be their last champion. Sejuani again, the hover.
I mean, she makes the most sense here. You're looking at a Trundle. It's never going to be a great time for the jungle. Trundle is exceptionally good at dueling and dealing with most junglers, but at least with Sejuani, you have the utility that you can fall back on. You still have heavy skirmish potential, and especially in 2v2s, depending on how the CC layers, you should win.
Yeah, and we've already seen Magic in that game one, keeping pace with MLXG. They butted heads very early on for jungle control, and it did dissolve without any early kills. This time it could be a bit more exciting with the likes of that Trundle, as Zoe going to be locked in for Xiaohu. So this is something a bit different from RNG in this game too.
You called it, Dom. The Karma did flex down into the support position. Now, Zoe, of course, has gotten changes about 2 patches ago. She hasn't been brought back into the echelon of top tier where she was earlier on in the split, but we do have a lot of Zoe players that are running around the LPL. She crops up more here than she does globally, and Xiaohu definitely fits into that wheelhouse. Also, one of the few champions that can outrange the Azir. I know that Korea has experimented with either the Xerath or the Vel'Koz, you know, these other long-range options into a champion like Azir. But in the LPL, we like our assassins. We have a beautiful relationship with
burst.
them.
Yeah.
So Zoe fits.
It certainly does. Coaches now shake hands as they make their way backstage, and WE, they might have suffered a very painful defeat in that game one. From what we could see of the player cams, they actually had some smiles. Xie with a bit of a cheeky grin, Mystic also showing some teeth as well. So WE don't look entirely defeated and out of this series just yet. They're going to need this momentum going against an aggressive RNG. Zoe for Xiaohu in the mid lane. Ornn going to be taken by Let Me. That enables so many different engage possibilities for RNG in that mid game. Will WE be able to compete with RNG in this game 3, or will we find ourselves at the end of a 2-0 victory for RNG.
Could have a very quick day, possibly, but game number 1 was quite long. RNG have drafted up again another 5v5 composition, so still not going towards their signature style, still showing a new face on day 1 of playoffs.
And again, the Mad Dog across from his rival, the sleepy Korean Uzi versus Mystic. The best AD carry in the league, hands down, against the only person who has really given him trouble over these past few years. And while Mystic seems to be in form in this series, can he match Uzi as WE load onto the Rift for what could be their last game of 2018 LPL Spring?
And we have an Infernal Drake to kick it all off. So Team WE's competition. You've seen this a million times in League of Legends. You know exactly what's about to come out of my mouth. It is level 6. It is team fight. The potential between Kench, Shen, and Sejuani, once they have those ultimates to find and create massive chaos and massive explosions over this map, is very high. And that's the big window that we're going to be looking at for WE. RNG on the other side, they have the Trundle. So how much damage can MLXG cause to Sejuani to delay that or to offset them?
We certainly will see, as MLXG already seems to be prepped for an invade. There are question mark pings. Xie will spot this. So this is a red buff steal, as Magic is starting out on that top side of the map. He's already getting a leash from 957.
Yeah, and should be noted that Xiaohu stepped up. He placed a ward onto his own Raptor ramp, so if Magic decides to immediately run to MLXG's red, he should be spotted.
MLXG now steps up to the Raptor camp. Looks like he's just going to do a full swapped clear. Keep Magic on that top half of the map and allow Uzi and Ming to try to control the bottom.
And now you're splitting and creating a strong side of the map. And like you said, it's about the bottom lane. Yes, Uzi and Ming are delayed into the lane, but it's still a Varus Karma, one of the most obnoxious 2v2 lanes to ever face across.
Early laning phase shouldn't be too exciting down here unless there's any major mistakes or challenges. But we'll see how this plays out as Celestial happily trades with Ming and the wave pushes in. Already you can see Uzi and Ming taking control over those minions.
And Celestial and Mystic unfortunately just have to take this one because, again, the map has been split. It automatically is going to give priority to Uzi and Ming, knowing that their jungler is not going to be anywhere around this side of the map. I do want to quickly touch, though, on Ignite. It doesn't seem big. Unsealed Spellbook means that you have the Ignite on 8.6. The Ignite base damage has actually been adjusted. It's gone up. And the Heal Summoner spell cooldown has also increased. So trying to give more power to all it engages doesn't mean so much for a Caitlyn or a Kench, but for the things like the Alistars that we're still seeing with Unsealed Spellbook in the LPL occasionally, does mean a lot. And over the course of this series, we have a lot of all-in playmaking-oriented supports, and I want to see how those 8.6 changes can add a different dynamic to the bot lane.
We'll definitely keep tabs on that. Already a lot of movement across the map as Magic will go for a secondary invade to take the red buff away from MLXG, who did already secure the other. As Xiaohu happily clears out this wave in the mid lane to match with Xie. And let me, even defending the Krugs on the top half of the map, MLXG with his second invade has already taken Raptors and is controlling the Krugs, so we're starting to see a bit of a tempo lead for MLXG.
And how this tempo lead will overtake the rest of the map is that Caitlyn is still a 3-item 80 carry power spike, and Varus is still the 2 with the new Rage Blade on 8.6. By denying the Caitlyn creating the strong side of the map for RNG, it means that she's unable to kind of bypass that power trough that she would have in the mid game by snowballing objectives. Because what Caitlyn comps like to do is their fast push composition. They take the tower immediately, they start snowballing, rotating around the map, and then really bypass any weak zone for Caitlyn because she gets all that supplement gold from the towers. So by doing this, it's just delaying Caitlyn's power trough, and it means that they will be forced to play through it, and Uzi is going to be infinitely stronger. So this is the window of power that RNG are creating from minute 1.
Already RNG setting the pace in this game 3. They let WE run the clock in game 1, play their own game style and drag it out as long as they like. But now in game 3, it's RNG who are saying, no, this time, you will see what happens when we set the pace, when we set the tempo. Will Mystic be able to keep up? Already Celestial is trying to save him from this harass down here. And look at the CS difference, 9 full minions ahead.
And the biggest damage is the fact that he doesn't have his pot. Yes, he's sitting on the Doran's Blade. He knew it was going to be rough, but eventually is going to have to take it back and lose a lot of gold here. Uzi is ranked #1 in first tower participation, so it looks like RNG are back to their old tricks and are going to break this.
Even Celestial looking for the recall. Piercing arrow might be ready for Uzi as the wave crashes in. There's no support, and immediately teleport from Celestial to get himself back onto the map. This is just such a difficult situation. You saw the stats for Xie on that Azir. Well, certainly he's 4-1 with a 20 KDA, but he's going to need to drag the game out quite a bit if he hopes to match Uzi's current power spike.
But naturally, taking a teleport like this means that he doesn't have access to either a defensive or an offensive secondary summoner, which is why Magic is having to respond, not only because they're continued to be chipped away, but now having the TP, if there is an all-in, if there is a 2v2 or a 3v3, Magic and Celestial already have to cede that pressure.
And still the wave pushed with Magic. They know that he's missing, which gives more time for MLXG to maneuver around the map. Already 200 gold ahead, another 200 gold lead for Uzi, and then another close to 200 gold lead for Xiaohu. So we're already starting to see RNG pick up some advantages. The recall has been completed as the cannon wave crashes.
And look at how important the pots are. Hold on.
Xiaohu.
There was a ghost
using
pot.
that, yeah, using
I got
spell
excited.
thieves.
It was Zoe. I was
Zoe.
like,
That's
hear the spell proc.
Smite will allow Magic to take his Raptors.
But back to Mystic. The fact that he had enough gold to look for the BF sword, but opts into the boots because A, he's in a heavy poke lane. He wants to be able to sidestep that. The attack speed is still a great stat for her anyway, but it's valuing the pots. He needs to have health potions to come back into that lane to just deal with the Varus and Karma. And like we said, early Infernal Dragon, they split the side of the map, they create strong side, bot side. RNG, Varus, and Karma force WE's bot lane out and give them the free early access to Infernal 6 minutes in.
Yeah, and WE seem to have nothing they can do to deal with it. Magic was spotted elsewhere on the map at that Raptor camp, makes his way over to finally control his own juggle, and RNG happily just take the Infernal, knowing that he's nowhere to be found. The next dragon, as you just so happily emoted, is another Infernal. Everything is coming up RNG in this game too.
Are you feeling 3-0? Because the thing is that Dragon's going to spawn at 12 minutes in, and Uzi is going to be massive with the initial power spike, and Mystic is not going to be. So they need to stall out and make sure that RNG don't have, free access to walk up and take it on spawn again, which means Magic needs to send help here. Now, good news, he's level 5, so they are creeping closer to that big level 6 explosion that you should see from Team WE's composition, but they need to make it count.
So it is going to be Magic who enables WE to stall out after that second Infernal Dragon spawns.
Has to be. Because if they get back-to-back Infernals this early on, and then Varus gets his power spike, they're done.
And that's where we look at the composition for RNG, Trundle and Zoe. If ever there's a way to keep a Sejuani out of the lane, Sleepy Trouble Bubble and Pillar of Filth. If Xiaohu can control that mid lane, that becomes even scarier, and still MLXG is tracking the Sejuani around the map. He's got Smite, level 6, and red buff denied.
Ah, that's gotta hurt. Magic didn't even try to fight for the Smite. And now Trundle has more access, complete control of the backside of the Dragon Pit, and is going to continue to just sit in this top brush. And again, Celestial has teleport. He doesn't have an exhaust, he doesn't have an ignite, so even in this 3v3, especially with Sejuani only being level 5 and Trundle being level 6, there's nothing that they can do. They just have to watch themselves lose this lane.
Now level 6 was just picked up by Magic as he ticked over on those Krugs, but MLXG is still just sitting there. He's waiting for Mystic to take one step too far. Chains of Corruption, the target's Celestial. He shields up. Engage from Magic, but he's outside of the turret range. That's the Pillar of Ice. Celestial goes in, but that's the Shen Stand United. Let Me even joins. Call of the Forge God, the target's Mystic. He flashes, but saved by Celestial. Teleport from Xiaohu. He's got Flash and Paddle Star. He's getting there late.
There is no reason for RNG to force this. Xie is also on the way with the Azir. RNG, you've already won the war. Take the tower.
And that seems to be what they're doing. As 5, they're pushing onto it. Xie is there. He's got some wave clear. Sleepy Trouble Bubble as Magic in the front, separated from his team. Xiaohu goes in for some poke while Uzi continues to fire across onto the turret. Let Me leads the charge. Just a Spell Thieves, ladies and gentlemen. Hold your horses. First brick split amongst all 5 members of RNG.
And now we can start unlocking these lanes, rotating them around. Credit to Let Me, a very early teleport to make sure that he immediately matched Shin's Stand United.
And look at those gank stats for MLXG. 35% of the time he ganks bottom, 33% of the time he ganks mid, leaving a remaining 30-ish% to that top half of the map in the enemy jungle. But still, like you said, the map has now been opened up. There's 3 full minutes before that Infernal Dragon spawns, allowing Uzi to farm top, finish that Guinsoo's before he heads bottom.
And the big problem is that Team WE are still just going to lane assign themselves into losing matchups. You know, Mystic and Celestial are going to walk up here, and they're going to be in the exact same position that they were on the bottom side. So if the lanes remain stagnant like this, if Magic is unable to impact either side lane or get things snowballing, we're going to continue to see them passively lose the game.
There's nothing that WE can do to try to turn it around if they continue to be tracked down like this. Already, RNG are setting up aggressive vision on this side of the map.
Actually, I will say this. Because of where Uzi is in his breakpoint, I'm normally used to seeing Uzi get the...
Finished Guinsoo's at this point?
Exactly. That there's actually a small window where Caitlyn's going to be okay for these trades just because she kind of has an even back with completed boots as well as pickaxe. Because the Rage Blade's itemization is still so variety bucket.
But Ming is going to try to see to that as he looks for some extra damage. Still, they're fighting over vision, fighting over the opportunity to harass each other. And we painted this matchup as Uzi versus Mystic to be the defining factors of the WE RNG head-to-head clash. But that's not the case. It's the collective teams rallying behind their carries, not playing exclusively around them instead. Though MLXG might be looking for it. Xiaohu doing something similar as he's just firing shots as Xie runs for cover.
I swear that sleepy treble bubble went right through, right between his eyes.
It was the cape. It went underneath the cape.
Doesn't have that that booty.
Tragically, no, birds do not have a lot of booties, though I'm sure Becky would have something to say about that.
I was going to say, I've seen that swooty.
No peacocks in this game. It's the sunbird instead from Xie.
The golden chicken.
That's the one.
Yep.
But now 60 seconds for that Infernal Dragon. Guinsoo's picked up, and Uzi's actually heading up towards that top half of the map along with Ming. We'll see if they redirect down there, or if RNG want to continue the laning phase.
And here's the interesting thing is that he's heading back up topside when the Infernal Dragon is spawning in 50 seconds. So I believe that means they are going to try to force this tower as opposed to prioritizing that second dragon, even though they do have quite an item power spike in their hands. Also would give them access into the Rift Herald, which against an Azir as well as a Sejuani, it's almost mandatory to break that mid tower, and that's where the massive stall will come in from Team WE. So many times LPL teams will be unable to snowball games because of their inability to crack mid.
Especially if Mystic is on that Caitlyn and is allowed to inevitably get gold. Ooh, the turnaround. Oh, but he missed it. Xie, you know how portal jump works. You've played Zoe. You can't get away with that. Xiaohu takes a favorable trade. Even Magic goes in as Celestial still trades with Ming.
You can see it on Xie's face. He knew where he messed up, so it's fine. We'll let it go.
Look at how that frees up MLXG on the bottom half. Letme is pushing into the tier 2. MLXG is there to support him, stealing away the Krug, setting up deep vision. Infernal Dragon is up off the back of this, and that Sleepy Trouble Bubble just hit. Ooh, big hit. Not enough, though. The Paddle Star is turning into a Paddle Sun. Xie has to get out.
Because Xie doesn't have access to Flash, doesn't have access to his ultimate, and now has lost so much of his health, it may mean that RNG get to break mid-tower without even needing the Rift Herald there. So massively misplayed on an individual point from Xie to put his team in this type of situation.
What's it going to be, though? RNG, they've taken that Infernal Dragon. There are pings, or sorry, the red buff. Now there are pings onto the Infernal Dragon for MLXG.
Trundle can just do it by himself at this point, and so RNG are going to continue to lock down the lanes. There's a massive wave so they can see any sort of information as well as great vision line on the entrance of Magic's jungle. MLXG is completely free to do this and leave his lanes isolated so they continue to win.
Oh, they're looking for a fight, and Magic completely misses. He's snared as 957 joins the fight. Uzi already flashed. Xie is free-firing, but he has no flash to catch him. The slow, and that's Uzi walking away. Ming overextends, flashing through the jungle, saving private support for RNG. Inevitably, this is going to be first blood.
Look at Ornn.
He's hovering that teleport. Ming is actually still running for this. He's going to go through 2 turrets. 957 will be the one who heads him off, but first blood goes to Mystic.
So again, a very delayed first blood, 13 minutes before it falls down. And what I was saying is that Ornn was left alone with this tower, and even though it is Ornn, he's not the fastest split pusher, he was able to get pretty significant chip damage on that structure.
And the Infernal Dragon was taken by RNG during all of that.
One job, guys.
All it needs to be is one. Still, Magic he did try to open up the map. He seems to have had a bead on what MLXG was doing, didn't try to contest his red buff or his Krugs, instead forced a fight with Celestial. And these are the two rookies for WE, trying to open up the game back for their veterans to allow them to carry, but just wasn't enough with that first gank, even though it did yield them a kill.
And then likewise, Xie being punished for missing his flash ultimate, then not having the key spells to try to punish Uzi's positioning. The fact that Uzi got to power walk out of that situation.
Yeah. Walk, don't run to the nearest exit in case of emergency. Xiaohu, along with MLXG, this could be the siege that breaks down that Tier 1 top finally.
Mid tower should be their priority. I think MLXG is actually just here to make sure that there's not an immediate collapse, so create a safety net for his team if he has to collapse to them, but more importantly, place down this vision. Xiaohu has been so consistent with landing these long-range spells and this damage on Azir here.
Like that one. Even the Proto Belt, Xie fresh out of base, and now he's below half health healing up.
Which means that even though Azir has the blue buff and this tower shouldn't be broken, it will fall.
He's still hovering in that mid lane, perhaps thinking that he might be able to dodge the next one, but that very well could be the death of him, especially if Let Me. What's he building? He's got the Frozen Heart. Finishes off Merc Treads to get there even faster, though he does take some time. Magic, misses the Glacial Storm. Xiaohu walking it off. That's going to be the Emperor's Divide, putting him on the wrong side. He's retreating. Ace in the hole is not enough. Saved by Ming's Airy to keep him alive.
That was so good. Oh my god.
And RNG are just denying WE everything.
Oh boy, Xiaohu, it has been so long. We have not gotten to see him play like that in such a long time. There's a reason why we say that Xie is the second best mid laner in the LPL right now, but Xie is just looking all out of sorts, completely outclassed by Xiaohu. So many sidesteps, wastes and absorbs so much attention from Team WE.
And now the weight of an entire season is on top of Xie, Mystic, and 957, the veterans of WE, and they're about to be dove. The wave is cleared, and MLXG just turns right back around. That's going to be 957 joining the fight. He doesn't have Stand United just yet. Lands the Shadow Dash, and Uzi goes down. Still no flash, as MLXG from behind has to flash the trap, trying to protect his carry. Might have been a bit overzealous from RNG to defend, but they will break the Tier 1.
Yeah, RNG were just committing to the wrong side of the map. As soon as that TP came through, they needed to disengage, and now caught again.
Yeah, Shadow Dash to deny it. Look who's on the way. Xiaohu is trying to catch up as he races to the top half. Sleepy Trouble Ball. He actually caught Mystic there. Paddle Star still hits the AoE. That's the lollipopping effect, ladies and gentlemen. That massive AoE.
Bend it like Beckham over here. Zoe in the mid lane. Again, RNG, there's no reason for them to be this far forward. So despite the fact that they are playing a relatively clean game number 2, you can still see where they're making some of these key errors. This is now twice that they've been caught with their pants down, especially overextended the top lane. You're going to get the free mid lane tower. All you need to hunker down is play safe. Allow your team to snowball.
So many times we've seen Uzi focus so much on the play in front of him instead of what's going on around, which leads to ganks, which led to the RNG EDG Game 5 in the LPL Summer Split last year. This time it yields a kill for WE, but still RNG seem to be playing around that as they break down all of the outer turrets 18 minutes in.
Unfortunately, oh no, MLXG did manage to pick up Rift Herald. I was going to say, unfortunately, we didn't get the Rift Herald, but it's MLXG. I should have known. He's obsessed with that buff. He's the #1 jungler, and taking it has access to Rift Herald, and if they could use it bottom or mid, that would be best case scenario.
Red buff stolen away again from Magic as MLXG is just flexing on him here. There's still a third of the duration on that Rift Herald buff, and with 3 members mid, a Zoe top against 957, who's now forced to deal with it.
And we finally have it, the 1-3-1 that we've been talking about. Xiaohu on an assassin who has decent mobility in one lane. Let Me teleport. He's just going to be that unmovable brick wall in the other lane, and then the Karma Trundle combo. It is going to be so difficult to attempt to engage or move forward onto Trundle and Karma between Pillar and the speed up.
Now we do see a ward being cleared out by RNG. Xiaohu still fighting over vision, trying to bait WE into this. Infinity Edge has been finished by Mystic. He's also got his boots too. So we will get some attack speed in this long fight, but can he keep up with Uzi's damage? Can he keep up with Xiaohu's? They just decide to give it up instead. Even the Sun turret in the mid lane broken down as a result of this, and blue buff taken by Xiaohu. WE are bleeding out against RNG.
And it's going to remain this way for a very long time. Team WE's game plan, like you were saying, can Mystic keep up with Uzi? It's going to be a long time before he's able to do that. Uzi now has completed his Wit's End, has his Rage Blade available, and the Baron's going to be spawning soon. We say this all the time. It's the demanding meta in the LPL. The Kog'Maws, the Varus, you grab this 2-item power spike, and then you immediately run towards the Baron, and you dare the other team to try to stop you because they believe that they're strong enough to take the 5v5.
Will RNG be able to play around that? Rift Herald now used in that mid lane.
The
Mystic
Deep Herald.
still clearing a wave up top. It was about to time out in MLXG's pocket, but he uses it, and they will clear out the wave as well. They're actually stalling it on the minions, giving WE time to set up a defense. What does this open up for? Xiaohu is actually racing down the mid lane. He's got Ghost, and he's used it to try and catch up. This has turned into a siege, but WE, they've built the fortifications. Can they hold their ground? Celestial takes the hit. That's Call of the Forge God. Knockup will still be able to collide with Mystic. He's solo. Chains of Corruption doesn't catch, but the tier 2 is just brute forced by RNG.
And the fact that no response comes in from Team WE, they didn't attempt to look for a flank, and it's because Xiaohu is consistently hitting these key spells. He finds the CC, he finds the massive damage on Mystic, and it just means that there's no option for Team WE.
And that's the tier 2 broken. Look at the vision control from RNG off the back of this. They know everything that's going on this side of the map. They're going to take the Ocean Dragon, and while 957 was able to split push and get the first turret for Team WE, that's just a poor pittance compared to what's going on. Oh man, you have got to be careful.
Team WE are effectively rolling over and dying in this series right now. I cannot believe some of the mistakes that they're making. The fact that a Deep Herald spawn is able to just be walked down mid lane and siege a proper tower.
And held on a minion wave. This is not the WE that went to Worlds 6 months ago.
And at some point, some trust needs to be extended to Team WE. They've shown case that if you give them nobodies, they will make them into somebodies. They've made Xie and Mystic and 957 household names, not just domestically in the LPL, but internationally. So there must be something to Magic and Celestial that I haven't seen yet, but I have to trust the organization. But they keep playing like this is not going to be their split. Possibly Worlds, but it is an uphill climb right now.
It certainly is. RNG, though, they've already got their eyes on MSI with the way they're playing in this series.
With the way Xiaohu in particular is playing as well.
Yeah.
He
returning to that Worlds form at what seems to be the drop of a hat the moment they get into playoffs.
definitely slumped a bit over the course of the LPL, has been ramping back up, but hasn't been the Xiaohu, the little tiger that we expect him to be. So nice to see him pull up the Zoe and just really flex on RNG. And you can't even see it displayed in his scoreline, but he has been the difference maker.
Controlling not only Xie, but also Mystic and Celestial. Even 957, anybody who finds themselves facing across from him in lane takes a few hits. And that's where it starts to get scary. The assassination, 957 over the wall, is going to retreat away from MLXG, but Lemmy is ready to catch up. Will he use that Call of the Forge God? Nope, just decides to farm it instead.
Doesn't have vision, knows that Tomkinch. He used his ultimate?
He did, yes. That was Celestial using the Abyssal Voyage.
Interesting.
But now they know that 957 is back in base, or at least holding that minion wave, I should say.
And the siege will continue. They don't even need to walk to Baron because Xiaohu has been...
How did he hit that?
So on
Celestial! He's going to be caught up. Chains of Corruption, they take Celestial instead. Good cleanse from Uzi, as he does already have a QSS, even a flash. A Xiaohu lands another, but it's not enough. The heal from Mystic keeps Magic alive still, though. The Sun Turret goes down, and RNG, they've got a wave prep bottom.
That is Celestial forced out of fight, trying to correct for Mystic's mistakes. Mystic has no health. Now Shin is left out to dry. No one is coming.
Continuation, subjugation, Ice Pillar, and Uzi firing down. Ming will steal the kill, but it hardly matters. Xiaohu over the wall. Don't you dare, Xiaohu. Tosses it to zone away instead, but that's another tier 2 gone. 5 turrets to 1, Frosk.
And they don't have the Sejuani ultimate, so they are fish in a barrel underneath this tower and have no response.
Keep doing this. Xiaohu.
Yes, you can't. There's nothing. What are they going to do? How can they stop him?
What is his hit rate on these spells? He has got WE down. He has got them read like a book. I know where Caitlyn is going to be. I know where Azir is going to be. I am going to poke them away, and we are going to take their turret.
And naturally, your only option when you face such a heavy poke composition as a Zoe, Karma, and Varus, and let's be real, it's just the Zoe, is you must engage before you lose the health. Unfortunately, because of how far behind they are on the clock, like 36k to 42k, Caitlyn's power spike versus Varus' power spike, they'd have to A, find the perfect engage, and then B, they're also not being proactive about it. It's the two new rookies, the Tom Kench and the Sejuani, that need to take
saw
the
them look for it. They hopped over the wall, but Magic missed the Glacial Storm, and Celestial overshot the Abyssal Voyage not once but twice. And Xiaohu, even so, to cover himself, should he make a mistake, has got the Banshee's Veil.
I like how they just spare Mystic. He's not worth it. We are here for the Baron.
You have to send a survivor back so that WE know not to take the fight
to
with
tell
RNG.
The tales.
Just like the great defense at 300, someone has to tell the tale. And Mystic, while he might still have both eyes, he won't for long if RNG keep firing like this. Because 25 minutes in, Banner of Command has been picked up for 957, which should stall out Let Me a bit, but can they look for an opportunity? Can WE find something?
Well, you can see that 957 has been pulled from the bot side, so trying to find another flank play on Xiaohu.
That's the target. He's got no summoners. He's swept back by the edge of the Emperor's Divide, and they do indeed. They do find something. But Let Me with the knockup. He's teleported in. Mystic has joined. Uzi racing to catch up. MLXG walks away, and Uzi will escort him to safety. Meanwhile, Let Me flashing away from the rest of WE as RNG group.
An important factor is that it's not one of the new members that eventually takes the burden of Team WE and finds the engagement. It's the veteran from the top lane. 957 having to play the entire map to get Team WE to do anything.
Pillar of Ice used to try and zone away, but WE will break down that mid-tier 1. They're finally on the map. They're finally on the board. But they're still 5,000 gold down. Collapse from 3 different directions is what it takes to finally catch him.
I can imagine those calls. Xie saying, go, get him, 957, making such an early rotation to try to be there for his team so he doesn't have to use Stand United. You can very clearly see the fingerprints from 957 and Xie as they are puppeteering Celestial and Magic.
And that time it works out as they get a kill, but Baron's been up for 7 minutes. And RNG still have control over that side of the pit. You can see how dangerous it is to step forward for WE, especially now that Xiaohu is building toward a Rabadon.
Good news, though, is that we were talking early game about, RNG's game plan. This massive window where Uzi's going to be stronger than Mystic, where they can try to force fights. And yes, they've sieged a lot of the map. They've continued to snowball, but Team WE haven't lost the game, and are now inching towards their breaking points. And this is what it's always going to be about. They need the 45, 55-minute game for the Azir and the Caitlyn to take over.
We do see Void Staff completed for Xie, so he should be able to get some damage onto Let Me and Xiaohu. Nearly 3 items on Mystic. He is almost there. But do they have the time to continue dragging it out? Xiaohu is just hounding for picks. Uzi will pick up a second Ocean. That gives even more sustain to the RNG roster.
Also means that the Elder is going to be that much more terrifying down the line.
4 Elders, yeah. Sorry, 4 Elemental Dragons. No 4 Elders just yet.
Please no.
And a Mountain will still spawn up next. So we're not seeing triple Infernal, triple Ocean. We're actually seeing a good spread out of this matchup as the RNG has worked out really well for RN. MLXG taking the Wolf Cap. Don't look at me like that.
No one would have known. I mean, people who know me do, but
you had to look.
It's okay. I've gotten some magic puns in there.
I've heard.
I'm surprised. You're supposed to be the D&D guy. They have a wizard on their team. It's Celestial, Magic, and Mystic.
Look, the atmosphere is right, but you've got to wait for the right situation. From downtown, the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, looking for Xie, but not finding. Let Me doesn't have teleport. He's holding on bottom. WE are trying to clear some vision.
And if WE play this one close to the chest, what should happen is that Team WE won't be able to enter any of these choke points because Xiaohu has just been so on point with these Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, which means that, again, responsibility comes down to Celestial. He's the Tom Kench, and he's the primary access into RNG's bot line, or back line, around these choke points. So they need to have a very crucial Abyssal Voyage here if they're going to get anywhere near this pit.
And this is again where we contrast the new rookies for Team WE. Celestial and Mystic have played 30 games together on stage, 31 with the last game.
I have a feeling that they're just going to walk into a choke point though and someone's going to get blasted.
Yeah. Very well could be. Banner of Command utilized bottom as 957 tries to group up with his team, but he's got a long trek to go. They're fighting over blue. Smite. I believe that was Magic who got it.
Looking for those windows where Zoe throws her cooldowns for a possible counter engagement. Watch Magic.
Over the wall. Magic is ready. Xie forced to dash out. WE slowed by the Pillar of Ice, but that's not going to stop them.
And that's something we haven't gotten to talk about is the combo between Trundle and Zoe and how much easier it is to land those Sleepy Trouble Bubbles and Qs when you have the Pillar of Ice there.
And look at that, following one up with another. Xiaohu starts to find damage. That's Call of the Forge God. They're stacked up. Celestial still eats the knockup. Spits Mystic out back. Celestial running. Mystic slowed and snared. Xiaohu chases. They're all grouped up, but RNG can't quite catch them. Xiaohu is the only one who can close the gap, but he doesn't find any kills. And RNG race to the Baron.
Losing a lot of health. Celestial is backing with Sejuani, however, has access to Abyssal Voyage, so it's going to be a little bit of a shorter path as they'll use that one to close distance, and the rest of Team WE just need to stall.
That's the Abyssal Voyage. They're all the way at the blue buff. 957 starts walking forward, but Baron down to 3,000 health. Here comes Magic. Frost Armor gets him into the pit. Baron picked up at 6 health. Xie goes low. Xiaohu nearly gets the kill, but it's a fight on two fronts. Uzi walking forward, firing wildly, just burns through WE's health, and an immediate near ace.
And you can see Coach Hart and Coach Kesman already celebrating backstage, almost a complete whitewash. And yes, Uzi picked up all of the kills and the damage there, but he did it flashing the Shen taunt.
And look at that. Karsa doesn't even need to be called into this series. As with the Baron, RNG are now 8,000 gold up. They have got a huge gold lead, and while the game hasn't been finished just yet, they have shown they can take the fights. They have shown they've got the picks, and WE, if they want to try to scale it out, it just became one heck of a mountain to climb.
And this is the thing, you're going to see a very clear difference between Team WE and RNG and how to close out a game. Take notes, WE, because RNG are one of the most devastating teams in the LPL. Once they acquire a Baron, their ability to close out is about 3 to 5 minutes.
This is that fight at that Baron. Mystic steps forward, but so does Uzi.
And again, that flash at the start of the fight to get Uzi back into position so he can walk forward and be confident to make those plays. Good layering of CC from his team. Beautiful pen for multiple Team WE members to be locked against that wall.
Let me with a 3-man knockup to just set up and serve the carries of WE on a golden platter to Uzi and Xiaohu.
And again, RNG are so devastating at closing out games because of their ability to coordinate waves crashing simultaneously, which is exactly what Team WE struggled with in game number 1 of this series. They were always mismatched on their Mega Gnar bar, and when the waves were crashing and sieging at multiple angles, RNG never have that problem, which is why Ryze is one of the key picks for them, the ability to use the dropship. It's not Ryze this time, it's Zoe, but watch how they set up these waves, watch how they siege.
Now the trap line has been placed by Mystic. He's able to zone RNG out just a bit, but as you said, the bottom wave is synced up and crashing at the exact same time. Now, it will be a bit of time for WE to get there. That's a Mystic eating a huge hit. Call of the Forge God. The target's Xie, not Mystic. He dashes back to safety, but with the 2 carries gone, WE lose the inhibitor. No hesitation from RNG.
And they've got multiple waves coming in. It wasn't just about mid and bottom, it was also about the top wave, which you can see is still building. It's going to be massive, it will crash. They'll have time for one wave to hit mid lane, take some damage here, and then rotate towards top if they want.
It's being built up, a big hit onto Magic. That Rabadon's Death Cap is doing absolutely massive damage. Another Sleepy Trouble Bubble, the distraction. Mystic's actually doing quite a bit with Xie. Lemme and Uzi are forced to back off. Ming died. And still Xiaohu is hunting for picks. Abyssal Voyage. And Let Me just flashes the wall. Nobody even went with Celestial. WE are falling apart at the seams.
Hold on though, Magic has ultimate, is actually slipping up underneath RNG.
Uzi hits the slow, but it's not enough. Teleport's ready from 957, but he can't get the flank from behind. Mountain Dragon spawns, and while it's not the full inhibitor take that RNG wanted, all 3 inhibitor turrets are broken, and Mountain Dragon is taken off the back.
And an uncharacteristic misplay. Look at the massive wave that Azir is now collecting on the top side. If RNG had played that cleaner if they hadn't lost so much health to, I believe it was Xie's Azir that was doing all of that damage to them, then it would have been so much of a more devastating closeout as we take a look at it. So trap line, yeah, it's Azir.
Xie gets his third Sand Soldier, and they all just stack up happily for Xie.
Just
minor mistake, disrespecting.
It's not even a minor mistake.
Well, sure.
Because at this point, you're round 1 in playoffs. We want RNG to make a deep run into the playoffs. They are our semi-finalist teams. You know, kid gloves are coming off. I'm done with the minor mistake. That should have been a game end. And RNG, they have higher standards, and they've shown tape where they could have closed on a moment like that. But to make a mistake, to walk onto the Caitlyn traps, to just get blown up by Azir, that is not the RNG that's going to make a deep run.
Well, luckily they've got a 2-game buffer in this series, so they can afford a bit of flexibility. But still, they have to close this out. The inhibitor turret is still standing. I was actually incorrect, but barely. Seems like it'll take 1-2 autos at most before that thing goes down from both Xiaohu or Uzi. And with Super Minions pushing bottom, keeping 9-5-7 occupied, RNG are free to play multiple waves.
Yeah, and why it's not a minor mistake is because of the momentum that they lose. Because you're still looking at a Caitlyn and a Azir, which are very difficult to siege into, so you almost need the Baron timer to make it worthwhile, unless Xiaohu starts hitting more of these, devastating chunks, which is possible, but in a perfect world.
MLXG leads the charge with Frozen Domain. Xiaohu keeping 3 people busy mid as the top inhibitor is broken. Pillar of Ice prevents WE from rotating in time, and though the wave is cleared out, Xiaohu is still chipping away at that turret.
One more empowered auto from his, what do they call it?
Spell Thief?
More sparkles?
Yes, more sparkles. Always more sparkles.
That's what really gets you. If you don't play Zoe and then you face one, you think that the damage is really going to come
from the paddle star?
Yeah, the Q, but it's also that empowered auto on the more sparkles when she uses her ultimate. That hurts.
And that's it. The turret is broken. The final line of defense is at the Nexus for WE. Their 2018 spring season has only 2 turrets. Well, all right, calm down, Xie. 2 turrets, real turrets left.
But again, the issue is that it stops here. It's still very difficult to siege in unless Xiaohu finds these hits, which I guess I should just give him the benefit of the doubt. He's actually just going to hit everyone.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop here. Team W are going to continue to bleed out.
He's got double Ocean, double Infernal. The Sun turret is broken. Now it's down to 2 turrets left for WE. And the final inhibitor standing is under siege. No trap line is able to be set up by Mystic.
Are they going to Horn and just try to end?
Oh,
no!
The Shadow Dash missed. That's Flash missing from 957. Uzi immediately steps up along with MLXG. Mystic eats the slow, and the split push is successful. They pull WE apart enough to break down that final inhib turret. Xiaohu lands the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. This is RNG. They've had enough of WE. They've had enough of this series. They forced the fight, and while they don't have the kills, they've got enough to force them back onto the fountain. The minion wave is cleared out by WE. And here it goes, down to the final Nexus turret. Xiaohu still just leaping forward time and again. What will stop RNG? Could it be an overextension? They cover Xiaohu as he steps back forward. Redemption to top themselves off. And you can see in the front, it's one tank versus another, but that's 2 dead. Uzi has got more than enough shred to burn through. And despite the constant regeneration, RNG still prove they've got more stats. The Nexus turrets are broken. And Mystic eats a trouble bubble and goes down. Solo kill Xiaohu. Uzi still alive. This is just RNG flexing on this point because they're taking the Nexus and they're taking the series. They are superior over Team WE.
Just rolled over on top of them. Xiaohu, if he doesn't get the MVP, I would be shocked. That Zoe performance, the fact that they were able to siege into a Caitlyn Azir this late into the game without need for Baron. Yes, they timed their wave, so it was multiple points, splitting apart Team WE's composition. Yes, Team WE's engage responsibilities on Celestial Magic were on the rookies, so they didn't have the experience to find the correct gauge when needed. But Xiaohu found key targets time and time again, threaded the needle, bent it like Beckham, destroyed Team WE. And that's simply a miracle MVP performance that just changes the game. You look at a composition, doesn't matter.
This is the Xiaohu that we saw at Worlds. This is the little tiger with a big roar. And they get to take a bow in front of the hometown crowd here in Shanghai as RNG. You could see when they were shaking hands with WE, there were smiles down the line. Though this is the end of WE's run until the summer split. They've still got a lot that they can take away from this. We've already credited their organization with the ability to take talent and make it grow, but what happens, Indiana? What happens, FLICKR, if you already have 5 spectacular players?
Then you just need to prioritize your macro performance. There were still mistakes made from RNG. It was just that difference of a skill gap between Team WE and Royal Never Give Up to be punished on it. But waiting deeper in the bracket as RNG will now advance into quarterfinals are Snake Esports and Invictus Gaming. It's still one hell of a road to the finals.
The first test has been passed, and there are still 2 more to go for RNG before they return back to the finals. Can they continue this momentum as they rise forward? Because if they continue to have performances like this game too, I think the answer speaks for itself. 38-minute win, 13,000 gold, and look at the damage that Xiaohu did. Those are skill shots, FLICKR. Those are not point and click.
Showcasing why Zoe is still a favorite pick in the LPL. Like I said, we've got a lot of Zoe players running around. We didn't care about the nerfs. She disappeared for a little while, but about 2-3 patches ago, had some quality of life adjustments, and she's back at it again.
If that's all Xiaohu needs, then quality of life adjustment every single mid laner, and then let him just run rampant over whatever opponents that he has.
It's just, I'm frankly just a little bit disappointed in Team WE after this performance. You know, it was good for them to make the playoffs. Yes, they're playing from, you know, the back foot, not having access to Condi and Bin, having Celestial Magic, trying to groom up this talent, but there were a lot of errors that went unforced.
We do get the chance, though, to celebrate that we did see 2 rookies come in for WE, and in their first playoff game show a strong performance. Magic going head-to-head with MLXG. This is no small thing. MLXG is known for dominating his opponents.
And the question then is, do RNG continue with MLXG across from SOFM? Because that would be the next opponent, or is Karsa waiting in the wings?
Alrighty, looking forward as ever. Still, though, it's time for our analysts to break down what happened in that series.
Thanks, Simon. We're going to kick it off from what you guys were talking about right there, because Zoe, that pick, you know, put someone to sleep, had a star go that way, come back and bang, just hit everyone on the desk. Because that's what Xiaohu was doing the entire time.
Yes. He was very annoying. He was a nuisance. It's like Fish right now. I honestly don't know what else to tell you. I feel like the MVP performance is, if it doesn't go to him, I'm not just going to be shocked. I'd be upset. That's how well he played on the champion.
Yep. He was playing well. I want to talk about the setup a little bit more just because of the fact that bottom lane was struggle street for WE. It felt so hard for them just because the matchup was going to be the Karma and the Varus. And we've been seeing a lot of support, or at least mage supports, coming out of Ming. This is the first time we get to see it in the playoffs, of course. And I don't know how they were able to get out of it. I mean, I felt like you saw the boots, secondary boots pick up, of course.
Pickaxe.
The pickaxe after that. He was on struggle street.
Yeah, and I do think most of this does actually reflect through the draft and the changes from RNG. Because I feel like what was missing in game 1, perhaps even a reason they should have lost that first game, is here in the second game. It exists and it's actually a prevalent feature. They had a controlling bottom lane. They had a pushing 2v2 down there. The Karma was an early rotation, so they could have flexed it to mid lane. It's something that gets banned away from them in game number 1. They early rotate. They acknowledge that they will take that lane no matter what happens. And if they push in against Team WE, who showed how slow they want to play, then you just take the turret. And you go from that turret to the next lane, swap lanes, take the turret in the top lane. And that's a very simple recipe for RNG to have an early game lead against WE, which stylistically should give them the victory.
And here's the thing about that, because it wasn't just the bottom lane, it was the mid lane as well. I mean, week 1, we knew the Azir versus Zoe matchup to be Azir pushes in Zoe, and Zoe can't do much about that because she pushes through the wave. But it's a minion dematerializer Zoe versus an Azir that's never going to have the opportunity to do that. So it was just that every cannon wave, Zoe had the pressure, and she's going to be able to push in. There's not a lot of opportunities for WE because of their composition to have push early.
And unlocked Zoe to do just this. Time and time again, getting constant Sleepy Trouble Bubbles and Paddle Stars to lock down crucial members of the team.
And honestly, it's upsetting to watch most of the time with the amount of work that Xiaohu's able to do, because he actually hits all of them. And in crucial team fights, he still hits all of his skill shots. Immediately, Xie gone from the start of this one. And then the rest of the team teams able to work around him. And that's the thing in this game, you know, the team fights are happening right now, but this was the straw that broke the camel's back in the end. They didn't even need to team fight. That fight happened because Xiaohu chunked them all out, and they ran from Dragon to Baron because they were too low to stop them.
Yep, and I feel like the first step, which was the drafting, allowed them to have the vision control, and the vision control allowed for Xiaohu to just be able to get the snipes like that. So he was playing phenomenally, but it was the team's strategy, the stream's play around their vision control that allowed him to thrive.
But he was still the one that picked up MVP in game number 2. Not only was he able to pick up the MVP for the Orianna performance, does so as well. The Zoe and RNG pick up the victory off his back.
43% of his team's damage is a poke mage, essentially, in there. And like the poke, it's not always going to connect to Zoe. You're hitting them and you're missing them. And the idea is you hit one, and then you're able to change the tide of a fight by preventing the fight from happening. Well, he was everything. He was the team fight. He didn't need to have one because he was hitting everybody.
Yeah, and it felt like, honestly, of course, a lot of audiences, or at least just a lot of applause in the background, that they were trying very hard to upset that mid lane. They were going for the ganks mid lane frequently onto Xiaohu, but Xiaohu was able to survive off of one of them, and he made it very difficult off the rest. So he was very strong defensively in that lane when WE were trying to fight back.
He certainly was. He was able to pick up 2 MVP performances in the 2 games that RNG played today. And we actually have Comanchu standing by with him for an interview.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and with me right here is the double MVP Xiaohu from RNG. Xiaohu, 你可以跟大家打声招呼吗？
Hello， 大家好，我是RNG的中单小虎。
And the first question I have to ask you, because this has been something of a secret pick for you, the Zoe. How fun was it to play on that Zoe in that game too? 就你刚刚玩的那一盘的话，你最后玩这个左翼到底玩的有多痛快？
就大概像就是比如我拿了一把狙击枪，然后再按出一直瞄着对面，就很爽。
Xiaohu's answer is like, it's kind of like holding a sniper rifle and waiting in the dark and taking pot shots at people. That's how fun it was. Okay, I have to move on because in this series, we've seen you hold on to the last pick and counterpick Xie both times. Now, Xie has had a much higher profile this season in terms of his individual performance. Was that a strategy going into the series to have you hold on to that counterpick and try to neutralize him in lane? 我想问你的第二个问题就是说，因为你这个系列连续2场都是红边最后一选，然后来 counter Xie。那我们也知道Xie这一季其实他的个人表现呼声其实非常非常高的，这算是不是一个教练给你们的一个战术，让你去 counter 他呢？
也没有特别战术，我们红色方就是经常喜欢选一些比较奇怪的东西吧，就不管哪个位置可能都会有出现 counter 的情况吧。然后今天就刚好给我就是2个 counter 位，然后我也就发挥还可以吧。
Okay. Xiaohu's answer is that, well, on the red side, we like to pick a lot of strange things. It really wasn't about me specifically. We just wanted to throw a counter out there. And this time, this series around, I put out a good performance. My next big question for you is that this split, Karsa has played more games over MLXG, but for this series, he played both times. Can you explain kind of the difference between playing with Karsa and playing with MLXG? 你可以跟我们稍微解释一下，就是你自己跟 Karsa 在搭配的时候，跟香郭老师在搭配的时候，这个感觉差在哪里吗？
香郭的话，可能就是比较自己想法多一点嘛，然后入侵性强一点，然后卡塔的话就是一个乖小孩，就比较听我的话。
Okay, so Xiaohu's answer is that MLXG, he usually has his own thoughts and he's very aggressive. He likes to go on his own adventures. But for Karsa, he's more of a good boy and he listens to what I tell him to do. So my final question for you is that, of course, you're looking at a series against Snake next. Do you have any thoughts on the series and how are you guys going to pull out a victory there? 就最后一个问题的话，你们接下来要去对战的是这个蛇队，那你们打他们这个系列，你有什么样的一个想法？那你们要怎么样取胜？
就是从我中单来看的话，我觉得打 Snake 就是不会比打 WE 压力大吧，所以说，不过我们要全力准备这次比赛，就是争取能比较完美的赢下来吧。
你这个意思是说郭可能没有西叶？
就是因为W 的打野就你懂的。
Okay, so Xiaohu's answer is that playing against Snake from a mid laner perspective, should not be as hard as playing against WE, but we still need to put out very good performances. I then asked him, are you saying that Xie and Guo there might be a difference there? And Xiaohu's answer was that, well, you know WE's jungle.
you understand what I'm talking about. So that will be all for this interview. Back to the analyst desk.
Spicy words from that man, not only towards the spicy hot button himself, he just called Casa a good boy and criticized Magic all in one interview.
This guy's an anti-jungler in all regards.
As a true mid laner should be. Let me tell you, I remember back in the days when Raptors were mine and junglers took them away from us. Raz, it's tough times now.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. This guy, he's
Well,
going to get it.
no.
This VOD is going to go out there. People are going to see this.
Well, I know now that he's going to go back and play solo queue and do the Raz special, which is never give the mid laner blue buff ever again. He's just going to take that from. He's just going to take that one as well now.
I just win the game.
Except for Casa. Casa's a good boy. He gives blue buff over towards Xiaohu. But we just heard from the double MVP there. RNG now advanced into the next round as well. What are we looking towards as their top lane jungle synergy? Because Xiaohu spoke of the differences between their junglers, but we know that moving internationally, they can only bring one substitute with them, so eventually they have to find a solid roster.
Yeah, I think that Zatai has generally, of course, he has the stronger experience between him and Let Me. Also has wealth in terms of pool, and if there's a new meta, he picks it up very quickly. So currently I'm siding beside Zatai if that's the case, and MLXG versus Karsa has different styles, so I can see them bringing the junglers along.
There's a chance that you would take both junglers because they are so different in style, and then you would just choose the better top laner on the day and you may take them across.
Yeah.
However, I personally said that my favorite roster from RNG is Let Me with Karsa playing, because I think that Let Me is a more stable type of player in the top lane, where I feel like Zatai has definitely got higher highs. He's still a little bit inconsistent, again, relearning the role for like the 4th time, how many times he's swapped positions. And I just think that Let Me, the consistency is more needed from him.
Well, before we move on here, final thoughts about Team W, because it's the end of their spring season. They will not be moving into MSI. We will not be seeing them in Rift Rivals. Next time we'll see them play will be during the summer split.
Yeah.
We heard from Frostgren at the end of game number 2 saying that WE is an organization that pick out their players and it's more of a family team. They work together to try to build up new players and they don't necessarily replace them just off a whim. Are we going to expect Magic Celestial to stick around, and what can we expect from them from summer season?
I would say very likely unless if circumstances change, because the spring split circumstances changed for them. They were expecting to bring in their core lineup from Worlds, and it didn't happen for them. So a lot of it is just going to be rookie building. Magic showcased that he can get better as the split went on, and the same case for Celestial. I actually thought that Celestial played well for himself throughout the split. So for the summer split, it comes down to continuing to practice, get the grind on, find yourself back into playoffs, and hopefully make the grind once more. Hopefully getting to the finals.
Yeah, I think the WE should take away from this split and just be happy that they made the playoffs.
Yes.
Right? They had to get rid of Condi, and I do hope that Condi comes back. I do hope that Ben comes back. But if they continue with the same roster that they have right now, they should be happy that they managed to make top 4 in their conference and continue that momentum forwards and just have a better summer split. Aim to make Worlds.
Now for RNG, they are going to be moving on into the quarterfinals of playoffs. That does not secure them a spot at MSI just yet, and it also crucially doesn't secure them a spot at Rift Rivals either. They still have to win one best of 5 to get their first international representation.
Yeah, one thing I would like to say is that going up against Snake, RNG in this set showcased that they can team fight. Snake is a team fighting team. Snake right now are in a rut. They're having problems, especially in the early game, because they can't really take down those turrets really early on. And unless if SOFM has the early game advantage, or at least the tempo for himself, they falter. So right now, I feel like RNG have the heads up on.
That's the thing, though. I feel like, from what I hope Karsa plays. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to put it out simply because the way that MLXG played today, you don't do that to SOFM. If he sees you come at him and you get like one of the Raptors, he's following you to your Raptors and he's taking them away, and then he's just winning the whole map. So there's just, you have to play more cerebrally with more respect in the jungle role.
Yes.
And I don't think MLXG can do that, or I think RNG will lose if they start him.
There were definitely a few mistakes made by MLXG. This series was just not punished at all. Going up against SOFM, you can't do that.
No, you certainly cannot. And it'll be the first time that we actually see Snake leave the Snake Pit, moving here to the Superman Mall, the LPL Battle Arena, to go up against RNG as well. We'll have to see if that affects them in any way. That is going to be played on April 14th to 15th, so this Saturday as well as Sunday. But we still have one more game to go during round 1, which is going to be BLG taking on Jindong Gaming. That's the match we have tomorrow.
And we came into today saying that RNG should be the heavy favorites. We all predicted RNG to win. Tomorrow, I do think, is a fairly reminiscent affair to what today was, with BLG being the favorites coming into that one, being the rightful 3rd seed, you would say, in the battle of the 3rd and 4th seeds. And I would expect a strong showing from BLG, but Jingdong are the wild cards. They could bring anything, and they could bring a storm.
Yeah, that's always the big point, is the fact that Jingdong coming up with the Jinx Loken coming out at the end of the split and showcasing that they can play around him, that's phenomenal. That's fantastic. But BLG can end it early with the Chieftain and Mole combination.
I mean, BLG have been looking good recently. With the Chieftain Mole being added to the team, they not only have early game now, but they still can rely on their late game, especially with Amazing J. He was an MVP nominee for this split. He's had a fantastic split. If we are going to look towards JDG upsetting BLG and picking up the victory in this series, who do we look towards on their team to do so?
For Jingdong to upset, I feel like, you know what? I would say the mid lane has to do something special in this case. I know that someone has to step up, right?
Yes, they do.
And I can't name a particular person besides Loken that is stepping up currently. I think jungle mid maybe, but I would say mid lane specifically just has to be there on the day.
I would say it has to be Zoom for me, just because going up against Amazing J showcased that he's going to be playing more tanks frequently. So if Zoom could showcase that he can either have stronger impact in the team fights and zone out the back line, or if he just play split push and at least keep Amazing J down, lock down the shot caller, you have your chance
He's
at the
solo
series.
kill god.
There we go.
Well, thank you for your input and your time, gentlemen, but that's it for the show today. Reminder that match is going to be on at 5 o'clock Shanghai time, BLG taking on JDG on this stream right here. But that's all from us here tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow.